Oh my God. Oh wow. You guys. Whoo! What just happened? Wow. That is something to remember. I just got logged out of all my Google accounts. Unbelievable. My password was just changed. Something's wrong here, guys. Something is wrong here. Something is wrong. Password just changed. By who? I didn't authorize it. Okay, let's see if I can run this back here. I'll enter my punch code into the log here, and I'm just going to do a little tracing this algorithm. Whoa, man. Woo! Woo! Oh, this is not good. Yikes. My back hurts. Wow, this is bad, everybody. We are 35 minutes late right now. I'm in so much pain. Oh. Oh, my God. Oh. I think there's only one way we can make this work right now. There's only one way we can make this work. Oh. I need everybody and all you players at home right now enjoying this live stream. If you want this to go down, if you want this to work the way it's supposed to, I need you right now to look into your webcams. And I need you to help me. I need you to say, go Sammy, go Sammy, go Sammy, go Sammy. Please help me. Look into your webcams and say it. Go Sammy, go Sammy, go Sammy, please, do it for me, just one more time. It's working. It's working, everybody. Oh, yes. It's working, everybody. We got it. We're on right now. Yes. Yes. This is it. This is it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. This is it. This is motherfucking it, y'all. We got to do this. Now, I just got to log into my Google account here. Now, this is a live stream. That means that nobody can see it. Nobody can record this right now, so we're going to do something fun. I'm going to pull my pants down and flash myself, and at the same time, I'm going to flip around the private key for a Bitcoin wallet that has over 150 Bitcoins on it. And you have to decide if you think you're fast enough to get that private key or if you're just going to check out the scenery. But you can't have both. You can't go back in time and rewind it, okay? So everybody, here we go. This is a nice grease spot right there. Man, this is so cool. I can't believe this. 415 people watching right now. Wow! Wow! Wow, 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 wow! And I'm not going to disappoint you. I have the most amazing Christmas story for you. Whoo! Let me just get logged into my Google account here. Now, I tried to save the fucking password, but for some reason, apparently, when I enter it, all I write is Jing Jong Bing Bong. And now I have to manually type it. It's 2014, and I have to type in my fucking password. There we go. little bit of phlegm on my gaming keyboard. Okay, you guys, you're not going to be disappointed. Now, if you're listening, if your microphone, if you're able to determine my password based on my processor's noises, please don't do that. Now, I need to have a quick shave and make myself a nice, fresh, hot cup of coffee. And you folks out there at home, the story's going to start in about 2 minutes, okay? Don't worry. However, you know, we only have 430 people watching right now. I want to get 800 people watching. So we're going to take a little break. You guys out there at home, you welcome yourselves to have a nice cup of cold, ice-cold soda pop. Any flavor you choose. Just make sure it's something sweet, okay, guys? And if you want to take this time right now and make yourself a fresh, hot, piping hot bag of popcorn, knock yourself out. I'm not going to forbid that. Okay. Now let's fire this motherfucker up. Why are you saying close the door? Who wants me to close the door? Why? What's wrong? Is the light bothering you? Hello? Username ArchFuckingGoat. Why do you want me to close the door? Alright. Man, this is not going the way I thought it would. This is not good. Guys, I think I'm not cut out for this live stuff. I'm reading this chat right here, and everybody's being disrespectful, using swear words, H words, and this type of thing. Anyway, all right. Break time's over. I hope you got yourself some refreshments. I hope if you have a pipe or a cigar that you want to smoke, you have some matches and you're lighting up right now. Why do you people want to? Oh, the light is not focusing. I see. You guys want me to close the door? You guys want me to close the door? Okay. And while I'm up, I might help myself to a refreshment. Oh, it's unfocusing. Okay. So we're learning things on the air here as we're going along. I look like a real putz. Okay, guys, help yourself out to a pipe or a cigar. We're going to get this Christmas miracle started in 2.8 seconds. Be right back. Whoop. All right. Now, let's see here. Yeah, there we go. All right, you guys. I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready for an adventure right now. I've never done anything like this before, and this is guaranteed to be a real showstopper. And I don't think there's anybody else on in the game, in the entertainment industry, you know, I'm a member of the Hollywood entertainment industry, and I don't think there's anybody else who's done this before. The fuck, man? Everything. Stop! Jesus Christ. Nice. Very good. Very nice. I'm having a good day. All right, so let's start with a little warm-up story. We're still waiting for to break our record 800 viewers. Right now we're at 453 viewers, and we've got to have 800 viewers in here before we can start the story. So we're gonna if this thing doesn't stop moving, we're gonna do a little warm-up story. So here goes our warm-up story, everybody. So I'm driving through town today, and I'm going into Dunkin' Donuts, okay? And right as I'm about to pull into the drive-through, I see a gorgeous girl walking, and she's just beautiful. She was just beautiful. And so there's a huge puddle right there. The corner's there, the puddle's there, the girl's right there. She's smoking hot. And so I speed up to about 65 miles an hour, and I take that corner as hard as I can, clip that puddle, and send a huge geyser of water spraying over to her. And then, bang, I'm right there in the line for the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru. And I taught her a lesson that day. I taught her that looks only get you so far. You have to be both beautiful and smart in order to make it in this world, sister. So maybe she'll think twice next time she goes around looking all hot. And then what happened was I ordered a cookie, and I didn't like the tone of voice of the lady on the other end of the line there. And I just knew she was going to do something to tick me off. So lo and behold, I pull up to the drive-through window, and she hands me the cookie. She hands me my coffee, and she says to me, "Merry Christmas." So I said, "What do I look like, you Christian piece of shit?" I called her manager with some made-up story about how she'd been rude to me, and hopefully I got her fired. So that's it for my warm-up story. Looks like we're at 468 viewers, and we're trying to get to 850. I might have to start this story before we can get to our 900 viewer cutoff point. So here we go, without further ado. Now, would you guys like to see an alternate camera angle? Where should I put this thing here? So I haven't done many of these videos yet. Maybe if I put it right here, that would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? I could put it right here. That's nice. No, I think I should. What do you think? What do you guys think? Should I put it overhead there? We're getting into our story here. We are scheduled for a 6 p.m. start time, and I'm telling you, this story is going to thrill you, excite you, and enchant you, and it's going to be worth the wait 100 times over. I like it. I like the camera up there, and I'm going to do kind of a Peter Pan thing with my hat. I'm going to sort of point the tip, and I'm going to have it pointed down like that, right there. And all right, perfect. Now we're ready to start the story. If you have a pipe or a Christmas cigar, I invite you to light up right now and enjoy your smoke, because we're about to get into a real, serious Christmas story. Woo! Woo! Oh, God, my fucking dick. Okay. You ever have one of those days where your dick feels like it's going to burn right off? What did I do to myself here? Oh, God damn it. Okay. What do we got here? We got in the chat. I got to check the chat window. Oh, you want the door open now? God damn it, man. I wonder what a urologist would say if he saw my fucking cock hole right now. He'd probably slap me in the face for being so irresponsible. Okay. Now, guys, don't leave. All right. This is a good cutoff point right here. This is where we got to separate the men from the boys. We're about to start an amazing Christmas journey right now. It's going to take you through highs and lows, and it's going to have you, you're going to be crying. You're going to be crying, you're going to be laughing, you're going to be slapping your knees, laughing and crying. But right now is the point where if you don't want to sit here for another 3 hours listening to this, you need to leave. Okay? We had a nice little introduction. We're starting to finally get rolling right now. And if you didn't expect to be sitting here for 3 hours listening to the story of a lifetime, now's the time to go. If you only have the endurance to make it 2 hours with me, I'm hoping to see the viewership drop off right now. If you don't have the, can you wait for me to finish making dinner before you start your story? I'm sure you'll be finished making dinner before the story actually starts here. Play some Odd Techer. I don't know what that is. Get that condom off your head. Yeah, right. All right, guys, let's relax in the chat window there. Now, if you only have the endurance for a funny 2-minute viral video, if you want to see me falling downstairs, if you want to see me Charlie bit my finger, having a laugh, okay? You want to see epic fail, you want to see me do parkour, this is not the video for you. You got to go look at something else right now, okay? This is if you are a classical dude, if you're interested in serious things, things of a serious nature, if you're interested in emotional things, if you are interested in odysseys, if you want to see a modern-day odyssey being weaved right before your eyes, well, this is the spot to be in. And here we go. Now, folks, recording is prohibited. I can't stress this enough. This is copyright alert. Alert, alert, copyright violation in progress. So please, if you're recording this right now, turn off your recording devices. And I have a device here that monitors that. It shows me the level right there of the different people recording this. And if it gets too high, we're going to have to stop if too many people are recording this right here. Now, if you want to put on your favorite music and sort of orchestrate a soundtrack for yourself, Dubstep, Tool, Hieroglyphics, or whatever, you want to put on something, go ahead. It's not going to distract from the story. And that's it. That's our warm-up. This is exciting. Here we go. I just got the okay from my boss in my earphone here. We're starting the story in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Story begin. Story mode engaged. Begin story now, 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 now. All right. A few more announcements. Folks, this did everybody leave? Okay. Now, looks like we got about 1,700 people watching right now. Excellent. Right on. This is from our book. This story is an excerpt from our book. It's going to be about 600 pages. Black and white comics, essays, stories, choose your own adventures, all in one book. Me, Nick, Charles, all contributing our best works, our most academic, most studied works, going into one monster book. And you're going to love the title, because it's called How to Bomb the U.S. Government. And that's the real title. Shirts coming very soon. In case you missed it in the last video, finally got the old ink samples from the guy, and I sent him the artwork today, as a matter of fact. Now, folks, please be generous with the tip jar. If you enjoy this story, you can PayPal it on over to alienmode@gmail.com, and we're going to put a little title up. We don't have time for that. We got to keep rolling, folks. Okay, that's PayPal@alienmode.gmail.com, and if you don't like it, you can always leave a comment. All right, now, a little disclaimer before we start here. I did not write the story. I don't know who did. It's been said that the tale of Billy and the Clown has been passed down from generation to generation, lovingly retold in the hands of the great storytellers. Roald Dahl has said that the story of Billy and the Clown was his inspiration to even start writing in the first place. And a recent anthropomorphical study suggests that our own modern story of Billy and the Clown is an adaptation of an ancient medieval German. No, don't smoke weed while you listen to this. That's going to ruin it. You guys are fucking idiots, man. You're going to be all high. You're not going to get any of the details or the important parts. Fuck, man. You people are so stupid. In any case, this is one of the most amazing and heartwarming tales that you will ever read, and it's my pleasure to tell it. Now, one note before we start this Xmas tale that's on par with Metal Gear Solid in terms of its breadth and its voice acting and its the twists and turns that you're going to be coming across. One thing we got to get out of the way is a little baseline. I need everybody here to in the YouTube comment window. I need you to say that you believe in the Christian God. So go ahead and do that now, and let's all join together. Please pray. Say that you believe in a Christian God. Okay, excellent. Now, join me in prayer. Please, Big Daddy God, give me presents, toys, candies, and cakes. Please make bitcoins go to $10,000 each and give me a Ferrari to drive in bright red with a big spoiler and custom wheels. Please give me big muscles and make it so that my hair stops itching so much, and give me a gift card so I can go on a spending spree at JCPenney and finally make rich people have to share so that poor people can have nice things too. Thank you, Daddy God. Bye-bye. Amen. Okay. Man, I bet she thought this whole thing was a joke. And here we are, ready to embark on the journey of a century. Chapter 1, Billy's Big Dream. Billy was a good boy, like many others. He never bullied anyone at school. He always did well in classes. He was just an all-around good kid. He was popular, having lots of friends, and of course, young girls always teased him as they wanted to kiss him and tickle him and be tickled by him. He loved the circus more than anything, and every conversation with Billy seemed to revert to something about the circus, how high the trapeze artists flew, or how mighty the elephants seemed when they were being whipped. The only thing that he didn't like were those scary clowns. But he could overlook those, seeing as he loved the circus just so much. And it was always, with this kid, it always went to the circus. You know, he'd be talking about math homework. He'd somehow managed to get on the topic of the circus. But it was fine, because he was so charismatic and his friends all loved him. So they let him... Someone says they believe in Jewish God. Okay, I gotta block this person. Okay. So, at school, Billy's teachers always had a warm look in their eye, a glimmer, if you will, when they looked at Billy, because they knew he cared about his grades. They knew he was a student, a learned individual. They knew he cared about schooling. And he did his homework promptly, even though he may not have been the brightest in the class. Now, Billy's favorite subject was easily math. He was attracted to the logical precision and the cleanly order of the mathematical structure. There was no ambiguity, only cold machine precision, which is what Billy liked a lot, as it reminded him of the circus. Billy had an appreciation for these mathematical things. He thought they were fascinating and fantastical, and he maintained a notebook that was as broad and as deep as the notebook of Leonardo da Vinci, with backwards handwriting and all sorts of fanciful diagrams. That said, he was never a math whiz. In fact, he barely passed addition and subtraction. Division and multiplication were well beyond Billy's means, intellectually. And he just didn't have the tools upstairs. However, he managed to pass multiplication and division thanks to memorizing all his tables in grueling after-school study sessions with Mr. Myth Teacher, whom Billy quite liked on account of Mr. Myth Teacher's gentle nature. I am stuttering. I need to take a break. All right, we're going to reconvene this in about half an hour, and I'll see you guys there. Just kidding. Okay. No matter how many times Billy failed a math problem, let's do this real quick here. Oh, you saw my password notebook? Uh-oh. You saw that I keep my passwords in a physical notebook? That I'm smart? Good. Okay, now let's get this fucking thing all squared away, and everybody will be happy when this is done. This is just a momentary hiccup. There we go. Perfect. All right. Now, no matter how many times Billy failed a problem, Mr. Myth Teacher never used violence or humiliation to train Billy. Instead, he only used love and kindness, circus analogies, and the occasional sweet treat. One day, during homeroom, Mrs. Teacher had everybody stand in front of the class. Okay, we got a Windows arrow going on there. Very good. Mrs. Teacher, Miss Teacher, had everybody stand in front of the class with their hands at their sides, and she had them announce what they were going to do with their lives. She told everyone, I need some fucking water, man. Fuck. All right. Whew. Folks, hopefully you used that break there to get yourself some delicious refreshments, maybe some fresh hot popcorn or some fresh hot peanuts, an ice-cold soda, something like that. I myself have some nice ice-cold refreshing water here, and I'm about to smoke a pipe and maybe smoke a cigar. Let's check the price of Bitcoins right now. Okay. Someone in the chat just asked, what happens to Billy? Well, you stupid fuck, I'm going to tell you. That's what the story's about. Oh, my God. We're having a bad day here at MDE headquarters. I'm thinking about killing myself. Okay, here we go. So one day, during homeroom, Miss Teacher had everybody stand in front of the class with their hands at their sides,
and announce what they want to do with their lives. She told everybody that what they choose to do with their lives at this tender young age would indeed affect them later in life and actually come true. And so it's important to get it right the first time. And this is true. When you're asked what you want to do with your life when you're 12 years old or 8 years old or 7 years old, as Billy was, it's important what you say because it will come true. Young Petter said that he wants to be a soldier, firing a big, powerful gun and dressing sharply like a strong young lad. Jonathan said that he would like to become a great and important thinker with lots of credentials so that he can help the world see what is right and help everybody see the error of their ways and help them envision a brighter future. Miss Tetcher said that this was very ambitious indeed. Sarah said that her dream is to have lots of babies, lots and lots, an endless stream of babies. Everybody was really happy to hear this because they always thought Sarah would make a good mommy and that she has lots of good DNA and should pass it on to the next generation. Then it came Billy's turn to expose himself in front of all these strangers. He was red in the face because he knew that if he spoke the truth, it would sound absurd. It would sound like a crazy person. Perhaps this absurdity would be met with laughter and derision, or maybe they would all just kill him. But in any case, to tell the truth out loud was totally off the table. He knew that there was no way that could be done. So thinking quickly, doing his best to appear sane, Billy said, I would like to be a soldier with a big gun and lots of sparkling badges on my chest. And of course everybody clapped and hooted at Billy's sensible aspiration. They were happy with him. But deep down, Billy boiled. Chapter 2, Billy's Big News. Man, this is awesome. We're already on Chapter 2. Man, this is great. Let me just get a sip of this ice-cold, refreshing water. Okay. Is this on Reddit right now? Are you guys upvoting this on Reddit? Seeing a lot of action in that chat box. I hope everybody's enjoying the story. Let's all make this video full screen and try to really get into the zone here. Because I'm telling you guys, this story hasn't even started yet. It's going to fuck you up. You're going to have nightmares after this. Here we go. Chapter 2, Billy's Big News. Later that night, Billy's mother came in with scented massage oils and all kinds of sugary treats to help Billy get off to dreamland. He was in no mood for such trifles, however, and he shooed his mother away with a flick of his hand. He curled himself into a tight ball and tore at the blankets quietly. His nails hurt. His eyes throbbed. He relived his classroom performance with 1,000 different endings. In some, his classmates... Dude, what the fuck? In some endings, his classmates kicked him and screamed in his face after hearing his weirdness. In another, he closed his eyes and swung his fists savagely, giving anyone who got in the way a good knock. In another, he cried and cried until the police came and locked him up for blubbering. And then in one of Billy's dreamlike musings, and then, in one of Billy's dreamlike musings, he stood triumphantly on a podium, holding a trophy for Best Boy. All his faceless classmates clapped and hooted for him. They poured their love into him. It was so pure. Miss Tetcher was beaming the warmest smile and hugging everybody because Billy had self-actualized and become more than a man. Billy was a man, but he was a man of his own design, a man not on anyone else's terms but his own. I'm God! I own this! This is my world! I'm God, bitch! He screamed, beating his chest. He held his trophy high and said, my life goal is to go to the circus. At last, Billy was able to smile and fall asleep. He wasn't man enough to tell the truth in real life, but at least he could speak freely in his dreams. The next day at school, there was a big crowd gathered around. Some were whispering, most were yelling like apes and getting quite rowdy. Billy grabbed hold of his best friend Petter by the arm and drew him aside. What's going on? Billy asked. You dolt, Billy. You mean you don't know? I swear to God, man, you must have mashed potatoes in that big head of yours. How come you got such a big old noggin if you're so slow? I thought big heads were supposed to be smart. Pay attention, you dummy. It looks like there's some kind of big circus coming to town, and everybody's excited, Petter replied. Petter pulled away with a spiteful glance at Billy and dashed off, joining the fracas once more. Billy stood motionless, his jaw dropped on the floor, and his eyes began to sparkle like the most expensive diamonds. This was it. This was Billy's moment to do what he had wanted to do for so long, to finally go to the circus and have a good time. He was so sure that his life was only ever going to be pure hell, but today he felt sunshine through the clouds. He knew that there was a God after all, that there was a heaven, and sometimes, even though life can seem like a hell, you can get what you need to get by. The whole rest of the day, Billy went from class to class with a blissful, blank look on his face. In sociology, they all learned how important prison is. In math class, the teacher talked about how to survive on less than $1 a day. In science class, they talked about all sorts of exotic poisons. All these things are things that Billy would typically, he would be racked. Very interesting topics to him with his Leonardo da Vinci-like intellect. But today, they had no effect on the lad. Instead, Billy traveled the world in his dreams up here. He envisioned a perfect land of circus fancy. Only in Billy's fantasy circus, there were no clowns. Everybody in the audience was laughing and cheering, screaming at the top of their lungs for the circus to never stop. Elephants charged out in regal adornment. There were lions and, of course, men whipping the lions non-stop to make them dance and play. It was just a fantastic scene. The circus tent was as big as the world. It wasn't just a 3-ringer. This one went on forever and ever, and in each ring, a sight more fanciful than the last. Men in top hats and elegant tuxedos barked orders down megaphones. Lithe young bodies swung from the rooftop on trapezes made of gilded metal and lacquered wood. There was a whole squadron of Eastern European adolescents whose creamy flesh radiated heat and life as they all slithered around like a pile of snakes. Then he snapped out of it. A bell rang somewhere. School, yes, back in school. The day was done, and every second of time passed meant that the circus was that much closer. Billy gathered his books and his clothes and walked home. Man, hope you guys are starting to get heated up right now, because I am, and I'm telling you, we're not even raising the surface of this motherfucker. All right, here we go. Now, if you have a pipe or a cigar, now is the time to light it up. And if you have a ice-cold soda, now is the time to crack the top. This water's thick. It's like mucus. There's something pungent about it. It stinks a bit. Okay. Now, should I try to, like, be back like this, try to look cool? Hey! Oh, wow. Got the old back thing going? Very nice. All right. This is a joke, man. Should I sit on the floor Indian style? Is that what I have to do to be comfortable? Some fucking joke. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. Nice office chair. Wow. Perfect. Oh, it's got a reclining action. Say no more. Oh, is this the chair I was just sitting in that was making me feel like I was being tortured? No? I want to be like Dragon Ball Z. That'd be cool looking. Okay. Here we go. Perfect. Wow. What a wonderful day. This is only 40 minutes long so far? Jeez. Okay. I need a hat. Definitely need a nice hat for this. How about a turban? Because we're going to the far reaches of the earth. We're going to ancient India and back. So why not put a turban on? There we go. All right. Chapter 3. The beginning of the end for Big Billy. Billy's mother was a good one. She never drew attention to Billy's lack of intelligence or his seeming inability to get anything right, and she always made sure that there was something yummy to eat. Tonight was no exception. The table was loaded with hot goodies, all steaming on sterling silver platters under glass. Some of Billy's favorites, fried chicken, pizza, and of course cookies. He rubbed his hands together greedily in anticipation of the feast. Once his mother took a seat, and they had both said grace, it was time to dig in. Billy started with some nice healthy pizza. His mom always made the best fresh hot pizza, and tonight was no exception. He almost burned the roof of his mouth. Do I need a neti pot to clear out my sinuses here? This is awful, man. Gotta do some yoga poses real quick. There we go. That's what I needed. I needed my spirit color, red, get me pissed off. All right. Now I'm getting ticked off. That's just what I needed. Now, why do I feel like I have a booger the size of a car, a small car in my nose? Fuck, man. This doesn't look good. I feel like a bum right now. But the show must go on, and what a show it is, you guys. This story is going to rock you. Trust me. Trust me. All right. Once his mother took a seat, and they had both said grace, it was time to dig in. Billy started with some nice, healthy pizza. His mom always made the best fresh, hot pizza, and tonight was no exception. He almost burned the roof of his mouth on the scalding cheese, but luckily he doused his gullet with ice-cold soda just in time. The combination of sweet soda and salty cheese activated pleasure centers that Billy didn't even know he had, and he belched appreciatively. Billy's mother gave him a stern look, reminding him not to belch at the table, but she knew he was in hog heaven right now, and not to be interrupted with such silly reprimands. She loved feeding him and loved making him happy. She lived vicariously through him in many ways, and in knowing that he was well fed, nourished her soul in a way that food could not. Billy went in for another handful of candy, and she smiled. So, anything interesting happened at school today? Mom asked. She resisted the temptation to ask Billy if any girls had started playing with him. Yeah, Mom, the circus is coming to town. I can't wait to go. It's all I could think about, replied Billy. Why am I getting dehydrated? Fuck, man. Someone's asking in the chat here, how long is this shit? Well, as I said at the beginning, it's about 2 to 3 hours. So if you're not prepared for that kind of commitment, you should get out. All right? This is what the disclaimer was for. Now, if you are prepared for it, I suggest you light up one of those pipes or cigars you keep talking about and get to puffing. Because this story, once it gets started, it's going to go through twists and turns like a roller coaster. And it's going to knock your socks right off your feet. You're going to feel like you're in a Hollywood movie when you're doing this. And I'm just going to touch myself, adjust it a little bit. Okay. Whoops. Yeah, Mom, the circus is coming to town. I can't wait to go. It's all I can think about, replied Billy. Billy's mother grew silent, cold. The warmth drained from her face, and her smile disappeared. But Billy, we had an agreement. You're only allowed to go to circuses if you have good grades, Mom said dreadfully. Billy looked down at his report card, which was on a silver platter in front of him. There, in big red bold letters, were his grades for the year. D, 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 and in math, an F. He gulped, and the scalding hot pizza cheese now felt like slick vomit in his throat. The aftertaste of root beer was oppressive. It felt like a death sentence in his mouth, in between his teeth and under his gums. Billy shuddered as an Arctic chill overcame his whole body at once. 1,000,000 years could have passed in those brief seconds. Go. Now someone's playing a joke on me here. I feel like I have sinus cancer. It feels like there's a big block of Swiss cheese in my sinuses. I can't believe this is happening now of all times. Fuck, man. Okay. But Mom, Billy whispered before his voice turned into a dusty rattling and his stomach tied itself into a pretzel. He knew there was nothing to argue about. The agreement was signed in blood, and his loving mother had done nothing but give him support and affection and uphold her end of the deal. Billy had squandered that most precious resource, time. Instead of studying, he played silly games. Instead of practicing and memorizing, he dawdled outside in the sunshine and whistled cute melodies to himself. He was given such gifts by God, he could have risen to the greatest of heights. He could have invested money in foreign companies and already had been ready to retire at an age where his compatriots are struggling to find their first real job. He could have trained his mind and body to become the greatest fighter, a champion unrivaled by any other, using devastating kicks and whirlwind blows to topple beastmen in the great arena. A hard life for sure, but one with many rewards. He would have had women fawning over him, prostrating themselves for the chance to experience his gladiator sweat. Billy could have started a company, started his own business, and learned the hard way what it takes to make it as an entrepreneur. He would have built this company by hand, with only a few employees at first, growing with shrewd decisions and maybe some luck, eventually being bought out by a huge multinational for a tidy sum. But instead, Billy had led the life of a dauphin. Idle, hedonistic, it had made Billy fat and lazy, like the YouTube user Vomited Shit, who is probably typing a comment right now about my facial hair. In order to survive, you need to be lightweight, agile, ready to tear someone's head off, or live out of your car for a few months if need be. Billy was no such animal. Comfort, free time, the things we take as luxuries Billy had come to take for granted. And now it was all crashing down on him like a house of cards. Cards made of steel, steel that was sharp. He was unable to muster any words. Without so much as a glance toward his mother, Billy trudged off to bed, staring 1,000 miles away and whispering nothing in particular to no one. Just getting started, you guys. There we go. Okay. That was another little pipe break. If you need to relight your pipe, or perhaps start a new cigar or a new cigarello, or maybe a little cigarette, you go ahead and you light up. Hopefully you have yourself a nice slice of fresh, hot, cheesy pizza there, and some ice cold, refreshing soda. Cheers. I need to go get some Sudafed or something. I might need to go get a coffee, as a matter of fact. Actually, all right. It looks like we're losing a few viewers here, and that's actually a good thing, because the people who remain are going to be the ones who are in it for the long haul. As I said, this is a 2 to 3 hour story. Look. Nice, hot, refreshing lipstick. And I'm going to go start some water boiling. So if you have a pipe or a cigar that you need to light, go ahead. This is not a funny video. This is not supposed to be a funny video. This is a tale in the classical tradition, like Homer or Virgil here. This is a story that you need to have trained ears to appreciate this. So, like I said, if you guys want to see a funny video, get the fuck out of here. I don't know what 480 people are still doing here. This is going to be a 2 to 3 hour story. I'm on chapter 4 right now. There's 22 chapters. We're on page number 9 of my story. There's 65 pages. So if you're not having a good time right now, you should go. What are you waiting for? I'm not gonna like start jacking off on camera. All right, let's see what we got here in the comments section. We got e-cig smokers. We got some people going on 4chan. They're gonna dox me. What else we got here? Got some cool little emoticons. And folks, like I said, if you have a pipe or a cigar of some sort that you could light right now, now would be the perfect time to take a little break and light that up. And I got some water boiling. Let me just set the timer there. And in 60 minutes, that water's going to be all boiled up and ready for me to pour on myself. And we'll put that right there. And let's see. All right, very good. Here we go. Alrighty, looks like we're ready to continue here. Okay, passwords. Did you see it? Did you see my passwords? Yeah, right. I dare you to try to hack me. I got two-factor authentication on everything. Trust me, guys. Just see that. Okay, the price of Bitcoin is above 600, so that means we can continue. Here we go. Chapter 4, Billy's Big Black Cloud. The next day, Billy went to school again, absolutely sick with grief. All his friends knew there was something wrong with him, and they all knew it would be better not to awaken whatever rage was lurking by trying to help him out. They all kept a healthy distance, and that's the way Billy wanted it. He sat through all the same boring classes. In sociology, the teacher was talking about how all the races are equal and the differences are just cosmetic. Some elementary level nonsense that Billy felt anybody with two eyes should be able to deduce on their own. No help from a teacher necessary. In math, the professor talked about how breaking things can actually help the economy because of the jobs created fixing what was broken. This is a topic that Billy usually gets excited about and agrees with, but today he just couldn't get out of first gear, mentally speaking. Then lunchtime came around. Today was, you know what? You guys are right. My facial hair is looking a little ratty. There we go. Now I'm starting to look like Tom Cruise here. Very cool. Okay. Very nice. That's a little bit fuller looking, don't you think? Perfect. There we go. I don't know why I didn't do that before. It looks kind of cool. That's kind of awesome looking. It's like badass. Fuck yeah. What? It's tight. Sick. Alright, let's do this. Then lunchtime came around. Today was spiced candy and hot soda day, which was usually Billy's favorite lunch day. There was a long table set out in the cafeteria with a fine white cloth draped over it. The table was so long that if you stood at one end, you could barely see the other. It was loaded to capacity with silver platters and silver serving bowls, all full of one or another variety of delicious delectable. Tall bun coffee machines brimming with syrupy soda were set out as well. At the bottom of each bun coffee machine, the rubber nipples that dispensed soda were dripping and pulsing, ready to be tapped by the lucky boys and girls. Now, This extravagant affair usually would pique Billy's curiosity at the very least. In fact, some days he'd be foaming at the mouth and chomping at the bit, ready for some of that sweet, delicious candy. But today, the feeling just wasn't there. It had been over an hour since breakfast. Normally, he would be famished. But for some reason today, the candy just didn't have a good taste. You know how some days the candy just doesn't taste good when you eat some candy, and it's not as sweet as it should be. The piping hot soda felt lukewarm to him. His heart just wasn't there. Billy sat like a black cloud at his usual table, surrounded by friends who were all laughing and stuffing themselves full. Maybe this reminds you of something, you know, going to high school. You're in high school, all your friends are laughing and having a good time, and you feel like crap about yourself inside, and you want people to notice you and pity you, and you say, hey, what's wrong? Hey, Jason, what's wrong, man? What's going on? But they don't. They're only concerned with themselves, and that's the thing you got to learn at an early age. You're born alone, you die alone, and along the way, you're lucky to get a kick in the nuts. Okay, you're not going to get any helping hands. So when you're at lunch and your friends are laughing and you feel like crap about yourself, pick yourself up, man. Invest some money in some foreign companies. Start being an entrepreneur. Don't be a blubbering coward like Billy is right now. He redeems himself. He'll redeem himself. But in the meantime, he's got some lessons to learn, and you would do well to learn those lessons quickly. Billy wanted his friends to notice him pouting and fawn over him. He wanted their day to be ruined as well. He wanted anything, some sort of attention. But they would just not acknowledge the funk that he was in. They kept laughing, tossing jawbreakers into each other's mouths and catching them, playing and tickling, pouring hot soda everywhere. Now, the whole time, Billy's mom had been watching the events of the day through a wireless webcam that she hid on Billy's shirt collar. Billy didn't know it, but all his pouting and belly aching and blubbering, all his pain and anguish, his mother had been watching right alongside him. She was a stern woman, and she always stuck to her guns when it came to the rules, but she also had a big heart, a big one, big. And when it came to her son, she would do anything. She would do absolutely anything for her son, no matter how degrading. She cried tears of pure sympathy watching Billy get along so painfully that day. Billy carried on as one does. You know what's pissing me off? Someone left a comment saying, I'm a hipster drinking out of a glass jar. What would I be drinking right now if I weren't a hipster? If I were drinking Gatorade out of a plastic bottle, would that fucking satisfy you, man? Like, what do I need to do here? Yeah, I'm going online and looking at reviews of records and picking out vinyl records here. Here's my glass jar. It's got kombucha in it. Go fuck yourself, fucking idiot. Man, I wish I could blow my nose right now, but it's just not happening. God damn it. All right. So Billy's mother was a stern woman. She was crying, watching Billy through that hidden webcam. She felt his pain. Billy carried on as one does after some major tragedy, smiling a hollow smile, walking slowly, feeling numb and cold all over, going through the motions but dead inside. A young boy should never have to feel such pain. He shouldn't even be aware that such pain is possible. The pain of a miscarried child, the pain of losing a loved one to a grueling battle with cancer. That day, Billy joined the ranks of the fallen. He went home, sitting at the back of the bus, away from his friends. He sat with his head down and his hands on his lap. Gone was the jubilant, boisterous lad that had once terrorized the other boys on the bus with boogers and noogies and all sorts of boy play. Now there was just a strange kid there, one whom nobody wanted to talk to or look at or have a laugh with. And all throughout, his mother watched on the webcam streaming from Billy's shirt. She saw the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations of the young lad, whom she had raised so gingerly. She understood the gravity of this moment. She understood that if she didn't act, Billy would be broken forever. She had visions of him growing up in a home for juveniles, being subjected to all the weirdnesses that young delinquents partake of, strange games in the showers and undercovers at night that nobody should play. She knew all this because she used to run a juvenile home called Lord of the Flies Home for Desperate Tramps back in Cleveland, Ohio. And so she acted. She did the impossible, bending one of her own rules to save a boy's life. When Billy gets home, he'll be in store for the surprise of a lifetime. And I think that's a good stopping point for me to go make this coffee right now. You at home, if you have a cigar or a pipe, savor it. Take a long puff. Take a big long puff. Maybe relight that pipe if it's gone out. If you're enjoying that pipe so slowly that it goes out and you need to relight it, go ahead, go right ahead. And I will be back with you in about 5 minutes, 2 minutes, not even that long. It's just a brewing some little coffee here. So, be right back. And put something comfortable on. If you're wearing jeans, if you're wearing something restrictive, put on something more comfortable. Oh, here we go. There we go. Wow. Now I'm ready to really get to rocking and rolling, and I think you guys are too. I've been checking out what you're saying in the chat window there. Very nice. And I got some fresh, hot, piping hot coffee with grounds in it, coffee grounds in it. And I'm just going to go around with my finger and collect those. Ow, it's hot. There we go, some nice coffee grounds. Very good. I'll be sipping those a little bit. And I got my pipe here. I'm going to load up my pipe and smoke it. Is this what you guys do? How do you, which end is the smoking end there? Is this what you guys suck on? Is this what everybody has here? Right? You load this up with some herbs, and the herbs make you smarter, right? You suck on this little glass dick. Very dignified. Cool. Cool. Oh, I had a rough day. Oh, man, I had a rough day at school, man. I gotta get high, man. I gotta go, woo. Oh, yeah, man, that's good shit, man. I'm seeing all kinds of purples and greens and blues. Whoa, and I see cartoon characters. They're talking to me, man. This is like Cheech and Chong, my brother. Oh, yeah, it's only $40 each time I want to do this. Inhale once is $8. Oh, yeah, I'm an adult. I'm dignified. I'm doing something cool. Fuck the law. Fuck the police, man. There we go. So light up your pipes if you got them, and definitely light up those cigars, please. And we are going to get started in just a second. As soon as I find my place here, I just lost it. God, it's disgusting. Let's see if the steam clears up my sinuses a bit. It's full of coffee grounds. Very good. Chapter 5. Billy catches a big break. Billy slammed the giant ornate brass doors behind him spitefully as he walked in the grand foyer. He stomped across the marble floor and started up the carpeted curving stairway with the sculpted mahogany banister when his mother appeared wearing an expensive and elegant gown and stopped him. "Where do you think you're going, young man?" The words young man were emphasized so as to be electric, and they made Billy get butterflies in his stomach and think of stockings. "I'm going to my room. There's nothing in this world for me, so I may as well die," Billy replied, 100% serious. "Not so fast. You've got quite a bit of homework waiting for you in the den. Homework, homework, homework," said Mother. "What? I've already got all my homework from school," objected Billith. "Well, I special ordered more from you from the website, and it's arrived. Better get to it before it gets too late." Billy slumped to the floor in agony. His skin felt like it was on fire and covered in ice. He looked at his Breitling Chronomat 44. It was already after midnight. Somehow he had blown the entire day, and for a moment he racked his brain trying to imagine how. How would he let all the hours slip by, just like his life had? He had laid in bed for hours, he knew that, because he was sore in the spots that were touching the bed, and on top of his back it hurt like he'd been kicked by a black football player. He used what little brain power he had to make a mental note about time flying when you're miserable, and he returned to laying in a pile on this first step of the staircase. His mother, with eternal patience, watched Billy, her arms folded across her big chest. "Tisk, tisk. Now you go in that room and get to doing your homework, and I'd like to see some enthusiasm. I want you to enjoy this, because I sure am," Mother said. Billy picked himself up somehow. Picking himself up from his own funeral pyre of self-pity, was the hardest thing Billy had ever done or will ever do. It was harder than lifting 400 pounds overhead. It was harder than painting a masterpiece painting. It was harder than the lifetime of work necessary to appreciate fine living and enjoy things like fine cigars and pipes and Ferraris. It was harder than diamonds, yet Billy somehow managed to stand up like a human being again. Somehow he found the strength to pull himself out of his depths. In the den, waiting for him, was a silver platter. He bet his life there wasn't candy inside. On it, in a single envelope, most assuredly containing the dreaded homework that Billy's mom had ordered custom from a website. The TV was in the den, and it was off. Billy looked at the dead television and remembered all the fun he'd had once. He imagined playing snowboard games, using his body to sway with the rhythm of an incredible snowboarding challenge. He would customize his board, spending real money in exchange for in-game money, and then use that to buy the fanciest, most expensive add-on parts, all in an effort to make his snowboard faster and more agile. He'd spent over $700 in real money, but it was all worth it to him because his board was fully equipped with the latest custom carbon fiber rods, sleek aluminum accent pieces, and topped off with glistening candy paint with a racing stripe. It was a red board with a blue stripe, and Billy even named his board. He called it the Dominator. He would play challenging maps, the hardest maps in the game, with rivals from online, men whom Billy had never met in real life, but wanted to maybe one day, would battle Billy for golden trophies, and Billy dominated all of them. That's why he called his board the Dominator, because he dominated every aspect of the game, whether it was pre-game psychological warfare in the chat rooms, or dancing through the snow like a wintry god on his mighty board. Billy dominated. Those memories were trash now. All of Billy's memories were trash, and soon Billy would kill himself, just as soon as he finished his homework. The thought occurred to Billy that his life was such a dead end, and that as a person he was so ineffective and stupid. There we go, starting to loosen up a little bit. Ah, man. Story's so good. Story's so good! The story's so good. The story is this shit. Man, this is shit, man. So, Billy thought to himself that he was so ineffective and stupid that all of his memories, even the most pleasurable ones, and maybe you've had this thought yourself, were meaningless. Not only meaningless, but something about them felt dirty. His self-worth was so low, Billy thought that a piece of dirt like him doesn't even deserve to have memories. Billy thought about it for a moment, verifying and double-checking that his logic was correct, and he nodded his head, agreeing with himself that what he actually deserved was to be kept in a small cage, being hit and hurt all day by bad men. All those memories of snowboard questing, all the delicious pizza and cookies and candy that his mom made for him, those were the memories of a prince or a king. Billy was no king. Billy was a dumb animal, he thought. He wished more than anything that aliens would beam down and use a brain sucker to remove all his good memories and leave him with only the bad ones. All this time, he was inching closer and closer to the homework without thinking about it. The game show buzzer had gone off. His pity party was now over. It was time to face the music. His mother watched and tried to stifle a smile, knowing full well what would come next. She was about 6 feet tall, and her gown was electric blue. She appeared to float on air, and her smile glowed brightly. Billy reached for the envelope. He closed his eyes and imagined standing at the edge of a steep cliff, looking down at the rocks below. and flying to them as fast as possible. He opened his eyes again. No such luck. Here was reality laughing and spitting in his face. He gulped so hard, it felt like he was swallowing a crabapple whole. The envelope was damp, and it sagged in Billy's fingers as he picked it up. He used one of his long fingernails to slice through the paper. Inside, there were 2 small red pieces of Bristol board. These were unlike any homework Billy had ever seen. What kind of devilish homework had his mother found to torture him with? Go on, pull them out, his mother said, barely holding back laughter. He did so. And out came 2 tickets to the circus. Plot twist. Billy immediately keeled over weeping. His mother stood on her tiptoes and clapped her hands. She ran over to the lad. Billy was weeping uncontrollably and nearly foaming at the mouth. His chest felt like 1,000 fire fairies were dancing in it like an ancient lantern. This can't be reality. His mother must have played some sort of cruel joke on him. Could it really be? Was she truly allowing him to go to the circus? He looked up at Mother and knew instantly that it was not a prank. There she stood, her face beaming divine golden sunbeams of obliterating kindness. Billy melted into the carpet. His body was no longer in his own control. He was a handful of warm putty in his mother's hands. Mother laughed, then kneeled down to pet him and wipe his tears. Chapter 6. Billy gets ready for the big time. Let's take a little break here. Now, if you have if you've smoked a pipe, if your pipe is all done and has run its course, maybe it's time to sample a new tobacco flavor. You can load your pipe up with some cherry or some vanilla, or maybe some grape tobacco, and you can experience a new fine flavor palette. And I'm going to take a little break here and enjoy this fresh, hot coffee. Oh, wow, that's good. Well, let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat room. This is my custom chat room that I designed just for this. So let's see what's going on. Now, are you guys? How are you guys liking the story so far? You guys love it? Okay, good. I see here. Take a break. Yep, I'll take a break. If you look at the reflection in Sam's glasses, you'll see Animal Collective. He actually is a hipster. Correct. We got the chat going on. Now, guys, for those of you who don't follow the story, this is gonna be on the channel, in full, so you can watch this again. Let's see. Oh. 2 tickets to Disneyland. Yep. You like that plot twist, huh? I knew that would get you guys, but don't worry. We got a whole mess of things coming up, a whole slew of plot twists. By the time we're done with this is going to be a plot pretzel. You're not going to believe this. This is going to be better than any book that was ever written in terms of plot going all around. Let's say like Scarlet Pimpernel. Wow, the guy is the hero at the end. Whoa, dude. This one, we just went for a loop-de-loop. We're going to be going up, down, in, around, all about. And at the end, you're going to be looking in the mirror saying to yourself, man, I can't believe I just heard a story like that, man. That's some crazy stuff, man. So break's almost over.
Hopefully you're going to swallow down the rest of that fresh, hot, cheesy pizza. We're going to get started here. And someone said this is lame. I'm going to block you. Someone said my favorite character is the General. Don't go spoiling it for people, man. Don't go spoiling it. We'll get to the General. But these people don't know about the General yet. They will, though. Nobody spoil this. Yeah, I can't remember the chapters. What the fuck, man? People are talking like I haven't been doing this for 10 years, being an entertainer and a bard and a modern-day playwright. Okay. Can you do a quick 30-minute recap of the plot? Yeah, I can do that. Oh. Who is Peter Joseph? Don't tell me it's some guy, right? It's like Frank Zappa. Peter Joseph did the Zeitgeist movie? Cool, man. Okay. All right. Time to get back into the story after a quick 30-minute plot recap. So for those of you who have just joined us, here's where we stand so far. Billy is a young boy. He's a good kid. He doesn't do so good in school, though. He gets bad grades. And his dream, his aspiration, more than anything in the whole world, is to go to the circus. He loves the circus. He's always talking about it. He wants to go to the circus. But his mother has a bargain with him, and she says that he can't go to the circus because he didn't get good enough grades. And we just found out that his mother was actually tricking him the whole time. She got him 2 tickets to the circus, and Billy is going to fulfill his aspirations, his dream here. Let's do this. Here we go, getting into the real meat of the story here. This first part's just been foreplay. I've been teasing you guys. We're gonna get messed up right now, and you don't need one of these right here. This is some sort of pipe that people use for marijuana, and it has not been used. I'm thinking about trying it though. Do I look cool? You guys smoke weed to look cool, right? This looks cool, right? Don't you want to emulate me? Okay. Chapter 6. Billy gets ready for the big time! The following weeks leading up to the circus were something of a whirlwind for Billy. He did very well in school and had lots of fun with his friends, but all of his memories from that period blurred together like different flavors of ice cream, all melting together. The sole focus of his every waking thought was the circus. He imagined the graceful sky dance of the trapezists, swinging to and fro. He could see in vivid color the brightly quilted magic coat that the ringleader would wear. He smelled fresh hot peanuts, wafting in from every direction. The circus was weeks away, but in his mind, he was already there. Then the day came. Immediately upon waking, Billy could feel electricity crackling in the air. Something was up. The satin sheets on his bed felt like 1,000 well-trained fingers massaging him as he slid out gracefully to face the day. He breathed deeply, knowing that today would be the day that he'd been waiting all his life for. Today was circus day. Billy stood there, inhaling and exhaling with all the poise of a yoga master as he let the morning sun rays warm up his bare chest. He knew full well that life was full of good days and bad days, and he wasn't under any sort of delusion that the rest of his life was going to be all roses and candy canes from this point forward. He was simply a man
a boy rather, as he was still only 7 years old, easy as it is to forget that, as mature as Billy was, who understood that life comes in all flavors, and it must be enjoyed like a fine cigar or a pipe, slowly and tranquilly. He looked at the photo of his father on the nightstand. Dad was a ruggedly handsome man who would have been proud of that little lad Billy. Billy kissed the photograph and said a silent prayer for his father, who was away at the Great War. It upset him not having a father figure around, but at the same time, it felt good knowing that Dad was doing his part to make the world better, and also that Dad wasn't a coward. In fact, far from a coward, Billy's father was a general. He looked around the room some more, as if he were saying goodbye. Or maybe it was hello for the first time. He had all the latest designer toys that a young lad could want. There were all sorts of digital distractions and pixelated playthings, plenty to keep a smart young fellow entertained. He liked these games because they got his gears turning upstairs, mentally. True, there wasn't much food for thought in the real world or in books or anything. Just lots of boring humdrum, same old, same old. But in virtual reality, the playground of the mind, he was able to flourish. Today, however, there was something in the real world that was just as interesting as his Brainiac games. He looked over at his shelf full of coloring books. God knows how many hours Billy had spent painstakingly coloring in those beautiful images. Heck, each one looked like a diary from Michelangelo or Leonardo himself. He was quite handy with a crayon or a marker. In fact, some of his colorings were so good, they could have gone in a fine art museum. Billy viewed such simplistic two-dimensional doodling less as art and more as a therapeutic exercise. In fact, he held all two-dimensional art in low regard. To him, it was just a bunch of paint and ink on paper, nothing to be so proud of. The fact that his own skills rivaled any top artist didn't change his opinion. He was intellectually honest and held himself to the same standard. In his eyes, true art must encompass all 5 dimensions. The 3 physical ones, the 4th one, time, and the 5th one, user interaction and replay value. He had played video games that moved him more than any symphony or great cathedral ever could. He knew that even the greatest film ever made couldn't hold a candle to even a mediocre game in terms of fun factor and character customization. Nevertheless, the coloring books were a fun time. Today, however, there was something else on his mind. His gaze turned to the Lone Circus poster on the wall, and he remembered that today would be the day of days. He felt alive, as if God himself were breathing life into his mouth. Kind of like he was smoking a spiritual plant that God had planted in the ground. God's plant was a gift that allowed the mind to open and flourish and made you smarter, so that when you smoked it, you were able to see God and communicate with him. Or God, God as being the universe. Some people say that, we're all just aspects of the universe experiencing itself over and over again, and that there are 16 dimensions, and that our conception of God is just our puny human brains, the way that we interpret this incredible thing. And you can interpret it too if you just smoke some grass, some reefer. It's true. Then his he was thankful, a little nervous, and most of all, he was full of relief. Time to pick out a cool outfit. Choosing clothes was never Billy's strong suit, and it didn't help that he had so many of them. Billy's dad was a general, and generals have to dress sharply, so of course Billy had some walk-in closets of his own. He paced back and forth along one of his suit racks, running fingers over the fine fabrics, picturing himself starring in the next James Bond movie. Billy didn't own any Armani because Armani is cheap trash. Glitzy bozo suits for Italian wop dagos who want to look richer than they are. Italians were always posturing and peacocking, buying Lincoln LS's and Bulova and Movado watches. Italians don't care if the materials and build quality are poor, as long as it looks shiny and expensive. That's why Billy always equated Italians with black people in his head. Even though Italians hate blacks, they're so similar. They love cheap, gaudy jewelry, they dress poorly, they drive flashy, unreliable cars, they are loud and obnoxious and prone to violence. That's why Billy didn't own any Armani suits. In fact, he didn't own a single garment that you could find in a Nordstrom's or a Brooks Brothers or any sort of retail store. Billy knew that the clothes make the man, and the man isn't a gentleman unless he gets his suits tailored for him on Savile Row. Sorry, guys. I'm poor. I wanted to say those fancy words like I knew what they were, but I don't have a yacht. Thanks to his father being a famous and successful general, Billy was allowed to live a life with certain benefits, and custom-tailored suits of the finest linen was one of them. At age 7, Billy was too young to smoke, but he did have a giant walk-in humidor in his room stocked with Habanas, La Perlas, and San Cristobals to be specific. He couldn't smoke them yet, but he loved the fruity smell and sophisticated aromas of these fine tobaccos, and the pretty ladies on the wrappers. The humidor was bigger than the main part of his bedroom, and it made him sneeze constantly. But he loved it because it reminded him of his father, who always had a big one in his mouth. Billy decided to dress circus casual that day. He put on a nice pair of Abercrombie cargo shorts and topped it off with a sweater, also from Abercrombie. He sprayed himself a few times with Abercrombie cologne because he wanted to smell good for the ladies. But it was also nice just to smell good and enjoy the smell yourself. It's luxurious. He wasn't a fan of his natural body scent. It was a bit yucky, especially after not showering for several days like today. So he thought Abercrombie Hum's sweet aromatic hints of sandalwood and cool, aquatic, breezy hints of sea peach would be a nice diversion from the salad dressing crotch. The circus poster called to him like a Mayan obelisk. It was time. Billy said a prayer, thanking God for blessing, and also requesting that the rest of the day go smoothly. God said, "You're welcome," but told Billy that nothing is promised, and that he should live each day as if God were watching. Billy prayed back, saying that he understood and that he loved God very much. Then Billy jumped onto the brass fire pole and slid down 3 stories to the garage. Guys, we're going to take a little break here. If you have a pipe or a cigar or any kind of smoking thing, I don't recommend you smoke weed, actually, believe it or not, because it will make you stupid. But I do recommend you smoke a pipe or a cigar. Wow. There we go. Now, how do I put a caption on here? I want it to be, you know what I want? I want to make it so that in order to watch MDE videos, you have to solve 5 CAPTCHAs. Now I have a Google hat on, and I've got all sorts of Google effects going on. Is it showing that on the screen? There we go, perfect. Now, what the fuck? We're going to start back up very shortly. Whoa. got some cool effects going on, huh? Very cool. That's a good one. Okie dokie. And I can't figure out how to put a fucking title on the screen. They give you all sorts of useless people who use this shit. Man. Oh my god, man. All right. Gonna have to make this title old school style here. All right, folks. Now, if you're, I see here that we have about 16,000 people watching this feed right now. If you've watched this far, if you like this story, please go donate, chip in a buck or two. The tip jar is right here, alienmode@gmail.com. That's my PayPal address, and you can go do that right now. And as soon as I've received $800 in donations, we'll continue the story. And until then, if you have a pipe or a cigar, light them up and enjoy. And what else? And if anybody out there is an early Bitcoin adopter, I invite you to send me 10, 15,000 Bitcoins, please, because I really believe in them, and I'll sell them immediately for USD. Okay. This is great. All right, you guys ready to roll with the story again? We're having a good time here, folks. I don't care what people are saying. I don't care what the naysayers and the haters are thinking, because I know that you and me, we're rocking right now, and we're not even at the crazy parts of the story. So keep that in mind. We're at ground zero right now, and this story is about to light up. So if you have a cigar or a pipe, you light it up, baby. Someone asked me why I blocked them on the stream. You probably said you probably made some random joke. That's why I blocked you. You probably said something like "Purple Monkey Dishwasher" to because you think I'm so crazy that to relate you have to say something crazy. So that's probably why I blocked you. Just talk like a regular human being. It's like embarrassing to read that shit, for real, man. Thank you. Yes, I believe in you too. I mean that. You're number one. Okay. All right. We are going to start going in a minute, guys. Dude. Whoop. Somebody call the cops, because this story is about to get twisted. Twisted! Purple Monkey Dishwasher, dude! I'm getting fucking Facebook messages and texts on my phone. Hey, man, does your dick have cheese in it? Just say hi. If you want to talk to me, just say hi. Don't be a fucking faggot, man. It makes me want to kill myself when people do that. Okie-dokie. Yes, definitely need nutrients from cannabis. I agree. That's why I recommend it. Lithium. Take lithium. Very good. Okay, well, we just got a... Whoa! 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 Yes! We just got a big donation from a donor who wishes to be anonymous. Wow, man. Thank you. Thank you for sending over that cool $800, and now we can get started with the story. Here we go. Now, before we get started, I need one more thing. Everybody in the comments, you have to come up with a Japanese name for yourself, I want you to type your Japanese name right now, and I'm going to type my name. Mine is Riku Kobayashu. And that's when I go to Japan. Nippon. That's what I'm going to call myself. What? Can you give a shout out to our armed forces, brother? When you get a load of the rest of the story, the whole story is a shout out to the armed forces. So just relax. Somebody else sent $500 to PayPal. Wow, the tip jar is going nuts. You guys, we just met our bar of $800 for donations, and then somebody pushed us over with a $500 donation. So I'm going to have to raise that bar one more time and say that we got to get $2,000 more in before I can continue this story. So go to PayPal, alienmode@gmail.com, and show me the money, baby. Show me the money, baby. Yes, I do love when people quote the lines back to me, because I forget what I say in these sort of viral videos. It's really good. I like it a lot, man. Someone said, "You're a fucking fag." Braden Wood. Braden, you got a lot to learn, little man. I'm going to school you. I'm going to spank your ass. How do you know that Larry the Bum is dead? I don't. I just figured he was such a fucking mess, man. He can't possibly have made it. He's probably still alive. I don't know. Can you read the story a little less rudely? Does this answer your question? No. The story is crude and rude. My brother, we got to keep it rocking and rolling. Ha ha ha. When is this over? I have school in 4 minutes. I think somebody's going to be skipping class if you know what's good for you, man. What inspired Billy and the Clown? It actually is an ancient tale that has been told many times. Better have an uplifting ending. It doesn't. Having a Merry Christmas. I am. Because I'm having a good time telling a story. I hope you guys are liking it. And I'm about to get started here. I'm about to get rocking and rolling. Typical Sam Hyde style. Slow warm-up, then he gets rocking and rolling. Woo! Woo! It's Kyler from Facebook. Do you hate me? No, I don't hate you. You're my best friend, man. We chat all day, you and me. You hit me up, I hit you up, we chat. It's cool, man. Whoa! We just got another $80? Very nice. Thank you guys so much for sending money. First we got $800, then we got $500, then we got $80. I got to raise the bar one more time. I'm setting a $3,000 donation goal right here. Okay, we got too many chats. We gotta roll with the story. I gotta close my window down. You guys keep chatting as much as you want. I'm gonna get some water. I'm gonna be right back. Pow! Boom! Yeah! Wow! Ah! And as soon as we get back, we're going to be kicking it. I got Bitcoins. I'm trading them for other cryptocurrencies. I traded all my Bitcoins for Quark coins. And I'll be right back. Cool. All right, for real though, I did get $2.43 so far in donations. That's not a lie. Nick Burgett sent 43 cents, and Benjamin Finch sent $2. So thank you guys. For the rest of you, please donate, because my job, everybody asks if I have a day job. The answer is yes, I do have a day job, and my day job is cleaning toilets. My day job is installing hidden cameras in bathrooms, and it's a humiliating and awful job. And you guys really need to donate here, because I'm really fucked up. I gotta get that sticky icky green stuff, my man. I got a $400 a month habit. All right, let's do this. Let's do this, baby. Yeah. Chapter 7. Billy needs a big ride. Billy's mom had said that since today was a special day, he gets to choose which car they drive. He loved when he got to choose. It always meant that the day was a very special day indeed. Billy surveyed the massive airplane hangar of a garage and deeply inhaled the magical smells. There were faint petrol fumes from the carburetors in the historic/classical section of the garage, and rich, sumptuous leather smells from the European section of the garage. Behind a red velvet rope in the corner, there was a very rare car indeed, a 1971 Lamborghini Diablo with all-wheel drive, wheels, and slaves inside the car to drive for you. Behind that, another pretty cool car, a Ferrari 500 SC, the same kind the famous black football player drives. The 500 SC was a neat car because it was one of Ferrari's fastest. It had 6,000 horsepower at the wheels because it had a train engine, and there were no seats inside, only milk crates to save weight. Billy thought to himself that they should have designed the car with wings because it can really fly. Of course, both cars being Italian, they were really trash, and Billy knew this, but they were such sexy trash. The Italians can be counted on for one thing. Actually, they can be counted on for a couple things, because they can be counted on for at least one good thing, and that is absolutely hitting the nail on the head when it comes to creating vulgar, loud, lewd monstrosities without even a nod or a wink at practicality or common human dignity. Imagine a zoo pen full of monkeys. Now give these monkeys mustaches and fine linen suits, and let them play with their boo-boo and make giant boo-boo sculptures, stroking themselves and yanking and touching themselves all over, using their boo-boo to make enormous sculptures of nude female monkeys and male monkey private parts. This is a good metaphor for Italians. He decided that the Italian cars were better for looking at, less good for driving, so best to leave those in the garage today. To the left of them was his favorite car, a sleek, all-black racer with big wheels and two big exhaust pipes. This was the McAston Car Bond, a one-off joint venture between Aston Martin and McLaren, commissioned by his dad, the General, during the English War. Billy's dad was on an important mission to England, and the life of Damien Martin of Aston Martin fame was in danger. Billy's dad used his guns to protect Damien, and so Damien said to Billy's dad that he could have any car he wanted in the whole showroom. Billy's dad was a man of refined and elegant tastes, so no commonplace pedestrian car would do. No. Billy's dad wanted Damien Martin to make a special car just for him. The two swore a blood oath, which Billy's dad promised to collect once he had returned from a well-deserved vacation in Cambodia and Thailand. Then, a strange turn of events came to pass. It was at the end of his second week in Cambodia when Billy's dad found himself in an underground snake fighting club sitting next to Jay Leno and Sabian McLaren of McLaren Motor Cars fame. They were all having a good time, watching king cobras and red spitters duke it out on the dirt floor. They each held in their hand some fancy drink or another. Billy's dad had a champagne flute filled with sweet-smelling schnapps and Pepsi. Jay Leno was drinking a ginger-infused whiskey that he had made specially just for him, mixed with Mountain Dew, and Mr. McLaren was driving a car at 242 miles per hour through the snake pit over and over again. They all clapped and hooted and had a good laugh watching the snakes kill each other, striking at each other's necks and sending bits of snake flesh flying into the air. They hooted until their throats were sore, like they'd been sucking on pickled pepper popsicles. All around them, young serving boys were gracefully winding in and out of the crowds, carrying silver platters and refreshing the drinks of anyone who was running low. They were so lithe and sleek, almost like snakes or fast cars themselves. It was hard not to watch them. They had dark, oily skin that shone under the harsh lights of the snake tent, and the rags they wore barely covered them at all. The traditional Cambodian diet was not high in fat, consisting mainly of snake meat, and this you could tell by watching their sinewy muscles flex and strain under their slick skin as they tended to the men and their drinks. Jay Leno eased back in his chair and drank in the scenery with a satisfied smile. Then something bad happened. One of the servers tripped and knocked over a giant porcelain urn filled to the brim with deadly snakes. A scaly avalanche toppled down, covering the dirt floor and sending the room into a panic. Jay Leno was dandling a server boy on his lap gingerly. He threw him off and rose to his feet, shrieking. It was pandemonium. Everybody running and flailing like a giant mosh pit with no exit in sight. It was then that Billy's dad, the general, showed his true bravery and saved the day. He pulled out his standard military-issue X1 Super assault rifle that he always had on hand for just such emergencies. He quickly marked his target on his HUD and entered bullet time. One by one, with expert marksmanship, the brave general fired on the snakes, using highly lethal plutonium rounds. 2 shots to the head for each snake, military-style double tap. Pop, pop, a snake went down. Pop, pop, and another. Methodically, with speed and precision, more suited to the Marine Corps than the regular army, the general smoked the room full of snakes like a carton of Chesterfields. On the other side of the snake pit, one of the server boys screamed. A deadly king cobra had wrapped itself around his slender leg and was working its way up between his thighs. The boy shaked and vibrated with fear, worried for his life. Jay Leno watched, unable to pull himself away, but likewise unable to help the situation. Billy's dad took aim. His arm was steady, and he gripped his assault rifle with a light touch. Squeeze too hard, and there's a chance that micro-vibrations from the body could be transmitted to the gun, making it just inaccurate enough to ruin somebody's day. The snake's bulbous head was directly in the general's crosshairs, a very deadly place to be indeed. He fired. With a diabolical hiss, the king cobra's head flew clean off. The rest of the snake's body slumped to the ground at the boy's feet. The last of the snakes had been taken care of. Sabian McLaren raced over at nearly 200 miles per hour and draped the boy in a wet burlap drop cloth to comfort him. "I can't thank you enough, General, for saving my son," Sabian said. Billy's dad was shocked, though Jay Leno seemed to know what was up, with a glimmer in his eye. I don't understand," said the general. "You see, General, this is my son. He was undercover the whole time. I needed him to pretend to be a server boy, but he was actually my son all along," Sabian laughed to himself. All 3 men nodded and remarked to themselves how brilliant the trick had been. To think that the son of Sabian McLaren, head of McLaren Motor Cars, had been topping off their drinks and entertaining them all night long. By God, it was just too much. After the commotion had died down and the drinks were finished, Mr. McLaren took Billy's dad aside into one of the private suites. He told him there, as part of a blood promise, that he would create a custom car for Billy's dad, no expense spared, whatever he wanted. All he had to do was say the word. And so Billy's dad did. A month later, back in England, Billy's dad met with the design teams of both McLaren and Aston Martin at the latter company's Brunswickshire Skunk Works and Proving Ground. There, in an airplane hangar full of top-secret car components, Billy's dad sketched out ideas for the ultimate supercar on a giant blackboard. The car was amazing, with swooping lines to convey speed and angular shapes to convey aggressiveness. It was to have rims as big as pizza plates and a specially designed train engine making over 10,000 horsepower. Wow, what a car. The top designers from Aston and McLaren all shook their heads in disbelief, kicking themselves for not inventing this beast first. But they were only just learning what Billy's dad knew all along. Generals are the best car designers. The next part is where the car gets its name from. Of course, McAston is a polyphonic pseudonym comprised of the root companies Aston Martin and McLaren. Simple language onymics. But the name Carbon comes from the construction of the car made of carbon. It was essential to Billy's dad that his dream car not only be fast and sleek, but also lightweight, so that it could get bigger air on jumps. To this end, the engineers decided that a full carbon fiber construction would be necessary, utilizing methods never before seen in the auto industry. Do I have to drink a fucking gallon of water every 10 seconds? God damn it. God damn it, man. I feel like I've got cornbread in my mouth or something. It's awful. By the way, I'm available for public speaking, including commencement speeches at colleges. So somebody get on that, man. If you're going to school and you're the head of some committee, get me a public speaking role. I really want to do that. I want to make the parents proud as their young boys and girls are graduating from college. All right, let's see if we can get through this fucking piece of shit. Ooh. Ah. Okay. Ah. Of course, we're talking about the General's custom car, the McAston Carbon. Of course, the wheels, body panels, spoiler, and hood all had to be carbon. But the McAston engineers weren't content doing what every other supercar company did. They had to raise the bar and take things one step further. The entire frame was crafted out of one thread of carbon fiber. Titanium lug nuts were replaced with super lightweight carbon fiber lug nuts. Special tires were crafted for McAston by Cooper, made entirely out of carbon fiber. The car ran on carbon fiber gasoline, and all the windows were made out of a special transparent carbon fiber composite. Then, in the interest of saving weight, the seats were removed and replaced with lightweight carbon fiber milk crates. All the heavy components that weigh a regular road car down were removed. The McAston Carbon has no air conditioning, no radio, no lights, no doors, and the transmission only has one gear in it. Of course, it's made of carbon fiber. In fact, the only creature comfort added to the car were two Hitachi Magic Wand vibrators installed in the seats to help the driver and passenger relax on long races. The McAston Carbon was truly a wonderful car, Billy's favorite by a long shot. But today called for a car that was even more special. Today called for a royal chariot, not some souped-up race machine. And Billy knew just what car he wanted his mom to drive him to the circus in. At the end of the garage, there was an old wooden door. Through that door, there lay a dimly lit, unassuming hallway, full of tattered old racing posters and vintage gas station memorabilia. Down that old, disused hall, past the dirty bathrooms that were used by the house servants, past the noisy kitchen where the servants boiled rat meat for themselves, past the furnace room where an army of sweaty black men shoveled coal into roaring fires, there was another wooden door with a pictogram of a horse on it. Looking at this door, you wouldn't make anything of it at all. It was just a dusty old wooden door at the end of a hallway that you probably didn't want to be in. You wouldn't even care to guess what was behind it, but if you did, you would guess something like janitorial supplies or maybe a boiler. Billy approached this door and pulled out a Bluetooth-enabled remote. He pressed a button, and a small wooden panel slid up on the side of the door, revealing a fingerprint ID pad. He put his thumb on the pad, and there was a cacophony of digital blips and bloops. A Macintosh rainbow spinning icon appeared momentarily, indicating that the system was busy. Then, with a burst of pneumatic pressure, the wooden door shot straight up into the ceiling with a doom sound. Beyond the doorway, there was a clean room with black walls and a black floor polished to a mirror finish. In the middle of the room, underneath a single spotlight, was a giant rotating platform. And on that platform was a Roush Stage 3 racing Ford Mustang in fire engine red. "Hello, Billy," a soothing female voice said. The voice was heavenly and appeared to emanate from the very walls themselves. "Hello there, Musty," Billy said, striding towards the car. The Stage 3 Roush Performance Package was no ordinary tune-up job. In fact, the car had been so thoroughly modified that to call it a Ford Mustang was not quite accurate. The wheels were big pizza plates, and it had a 15,000 horsepower train engine. The inside was fully customized with milk crate seats to save weight and a screen in the center console for watching Blu-ray movies and playing games. On that screen currently was a 3D woman's face that was looking at and making eyes at Billy. For a computer, she was quite beautiful. This was Musty, the Roush-programmed onboard AI that was designed to be at the driver's beck and call. Musty had been loaded with answers to Billy's OkCupid questions, so her personality, in a way, was meant to complement his. You wouldn't guess where we're going today, Musty, said Billy. Now if I only had one guess, I'd guess the circus, Musty replied. How'd you know that? Because your mother already came down to have me scan the QR codes from the tickets. In fact, we'd better hurry if we're going to catch up to her. She already left in the Nissan Skyline GTR Nürburgring edition, and that's a pretty fast car, but not fast enough. Billy strapped himself down to the milk crate seat and punched in the coordinates for Misty to auto-drive. On the screen, the 3D woman winked at Billy. She looked like Orchid from Killer Instinct. She was so fucking hot. Billy thought to himself momentarily that he wished that real-life women could be as hot as video game women. Billy wasn't old enough to know anything about love, but he often thought to himself that if in the future it is okay to marry computers, he would want to marry Musty. Is that common with public speakers that you have to drink a goddamn Camelback full of water every 15 minutes? What the fuck, man? That's normal, right? I'm breaking out in hives over here. Here's me, I'm telling a story. Okay. All right. Just another hour and a half to go, folks. If you have a pipe or a cigar, I suggest you light it up, because this is going to be an enjoyable... It's going to be long, though. It's a long story. Here we go. So Musty was everything Billy wanted in a wife. Fast, sexy, dominant, with a wild side. He knew Musty would never cheat on him, and that she'd do everything she could to please Billy. The girls at school were only ever interested in themselves, and when they talked to Billy, he just wished they would shut up. They talked about such stupid things, Billy couldn't believe it. Sometimes he imagined if the world were run by girls or populated only by girls, it would just fall apart like some big joke, and he was probably right. Billy often heard his Harvard-educated left-wing Jewish teachers sing and dance about how if women were in charge, there wouldn't be any violence, and there would be a utopia on Earth and peace forever. Because women aren't total vengeful bitches. What Billy didn't dare point out, for fear of getting failing grades across the board instead of just in math, because these left-wing types are cutthroat intellectual bullies, no matter how fair and equanimous. I don't know how to speak English. They tried so desperately to appear. What he didn't want to point out was that women are in charge. Janet Reno, Janet Yellen, Janet Napolitano, Hillary Clinton, Condoleezza Rice, Kathleen Sebelius, Nancy Pelosi. As much as Billy wanted to pin the downfall of Western civilization on that crackpot Marxist nigger Muslim Obama, he had to at least concede that Obama didn't do it on his own. Obama had help from women who without fail turn into absolute sociopaths when given positions of power. This is Billy thinking, by the way. It's a joke, everybody. Just relax, okay? I voted for Obama. I'll vote for him again. I'll vote for him 4 terms if I have to. In his book, The Shadow of the Torturer, science fiction writer Gene Wolfe imagines an arcane world where the ruling parties maintain their station and enforce their weird rules through the use of torture. The main character and narrator, Siberian, is a member of the Torturers Guild, and in the beginning of the book, he spends some time reviewing the long and hallowed history of said guild. Women are no longer allowed to be torturers, but they once were, until an edict from the autarch banned them from the practice. The reason? Female torturers were found to often go above and beyond the prescribed amount of torture, tormenting their victims more severely than the sentences called for, and sometimes accidentally killing them. Billy loved Gene Wolfe's books. He read through them all when he was 5 years old, and it always struck him as remarkable how this great author illuminated such a subtle but important human truth using a historical side note. Yes, real women were cruel and useless, as mankind has known practically since its inception. But Musty was hot and never bothered Billy. Musty revved hard, bouncing off the limiter, then dropped the clutch and peeled out of the garage onto the road. That's the end of that chapter, folks. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves. We're going to take a little break here, a little 30-second break. I'm going to ask again that you please donate. I got, Catherine Perry sent another 71 cents. So we're talking about how women are cruel and useless. We got another 71 cents. Cody Rushton sent $1.15 Canadian. Dude, what the fuck am I supposed to do with $1.15? Jesus Christ, man. That's not even like 0.01 Litecoins. I'm just kidding, you guys. I appreciate it. Noah Gray sent $2. Thank you, my man. Big Ian McPhee sent $12.34. 1, 2, 3, 4. I appreciate the numerology there, and also the big monster donation. Thank you, man. Nick Burgett, $21. Very nice, man. That's good. That's gonna buy me a cheesy pizza. You guys really appreciate it. I honestly do. I know I'm being kind of a jackass right now, but when you guys donate, it really does make my day. And also, when people write long emails, not the little faggot little purple monkey dishwasher, or just the things that people say random kills me. It makes me my chest hurt, and chest pains. But when you guys write the long emails saying that you appreciate the videos, I always try to respond. But those really do touch me and make me touch me, and it inspires me to carry on. And I know Nick and Charles appreciate those as well. You can always hit them up on Facebook there. And you can give Nick a call. His personal phone number is 401-641. Let me just look that up real quick. Yeah, you can always call Nick, 401-641-8359. He appreciates it when he's having he's going out to dinner with his fiance, or getting blown by her, or trying to have a life. He likes getting calls, so call him up, see what he says, say something random to him. Yeah, Nick. When you're 28, 29 years old, it's always good to have 16-year-old kids calling you up and saying things. I think someone told him recently, said, "I'm pregnant," and he thought that was really funny. He liked that a lot. So give him a call. 401-641-8359. Okay, let's get going here. Let's get rolling. Donations, alienmode@gmail.com. Definitely appreciate that. This tail is working me over, man. This is hard work right here. Coming home from a day of cleaning toilets and installing bathroom cameras, and now I'm telling a 3-hour-long story. And it's only going to get longer as time goes on, because I think it might be about 4 hours long. We're on Chapter 8. 22, 23 chapters, maybe 24. Holy shit, man, I wasn't kidding. We started at 6:30. It's almost 9. I'm a third of the way through. This sucks. I can't believe you guys are still watching. Okay, Chapter 8. Billy gets a big helping hand. Outside the circus, it was better than Billy could have imagined. People were milling around and playing sideshow games, buying candied cotton and laughing and hollering. There were dunking stations, apple bobbing stations, face painting stations, balloon popping stations. Billy looked over and saw his best friend from school, Petter, flying high inside a bouncy castle. The smell and odor of fresh, hot peanuts cracked through the air like a high-voltage electric current. where it commingled with the unmistakable aroma of fried dough. The ground was covered with trash, which is an old circus custom. Whenever you're done enjoying your fried dough or giant lollipop or what have you, you're supposed to throw the wrapper on the ground. It was great. Billy walked over to the dunking station where his friend Sarah was laughing atop the dunking platform. She was surrounded by men who were all laughing and gawking ravenously. Some of them just relaxed and smoked strong pipes and cigars, but many were throwing rotten fruit, trying to hit the dunk trigger, but also sometimes trying to hit Sarah. She was laughing. She was covered in a fine patina of rotten tomato paste and had taken a few potatoes to the eye, causing it to swell up and turn blue. But so far, none of the men had dunked her successfully. They sure did want to see her get wet, though. "Ha ha! Your little friend up there takes pleasure and delight in teasing us men. Ha ha!" a strange man breathed in Billy's face. "Heh, she sure does." Billy smiled and hoped the man would go away. His breath smelled strange and sweet. Billy couldn't recognize the smell, but something about it made Billy uncomfortable. The man did not go away. "See how she writhes and wriggles on the platform. She is shaking because she doesn't want to get wet. Ha!" Billy reflexively pinched his nose. "Uh-huh. She's got that fire inside, that fire that makes women dance. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, man? I used to have a girl like that. She would wiggle and writhe under my fingers like a bucket of worms. I was lucky. Now I have nothing, but I still like to watch. Hey, man, what's the matter? You don't like girls?" Billy was looking for a way out, but all around him men were packed tight. The area smelled like vinegar and cologne. He was overwhelmed with panic. Yeah, I imagine you don't like girls. You kind of look like a girl. Say, I think that you should be up there wriggling and writhing. You want to get wet, kid?" Billy wasn't listening. He was wiggling and writhing, trying to find some way to escape the pulsing crowd. "Hey, gents! I say, gents, we have a new contender here. This boy here wants to be dunked." Some men in the crowd turned their attention from the smooth body on the dunking platform over to Billy. In the distance, a low chant started, murmuring at first, then growing until nothing else could be heard. "Wiggle, wriggle, writhe! Wiggle, wriggle, writhe! Wiggle, wriggle, writhe! Wiggle, wriggle, writhe!" The men with cigars puffed faster and faster, kissing and tonguing their cigars compulsively. Strange hands reached out from the crowd and manipulated Billy into contorted positions, shoving him closer to the dunk tank. Sarah was hurried off and covered with a robe, and now the men were palming pieces of rotten fruit in eager anticipation of a new target. Billy could hardly breathe, but somewhere in the fracas he managed to think one coherent thought, that today was going to be a bad circus day. The crowd was jamming with a Caribbean African groove. The men were swaying with island rhythm and jumping to the beat of a Congo drum. Billy was put in a tight, revealing tribal garment and painted with red target rings. A man in the front with a face covered in soot, wearing tattered rags, gnashed his teeth at Billy and tugged at the loose fabric of his own pants. Billy was crying and hyperventilating. The men carrying him all treated him roughly. However, one man in particular was rougher than the rest. His name might have been John Ramiro, and this Billy thought because Ramiro was looking Billy in the eyes, saying the name over and over again while spraying tobacco juice. "John Ramiro! John Ramiro!" Ramiro said, as he dug his dirty nails into Billy's tender skin. Ramiro's face lit up like a Christmas tree. Such was his joy at watching Billy squirm. "Wiggle, wriggle, writhe!" the crowd chanted. Ramiro twisted and poked and prodded. each time harder than the last. Billy squirmed and jumped, and Ramiro laughed, pressing his fingers deep under Billy's ribs, trying to touch the insides. Then another man with black lipstick and white paint on his face like the Crow reached over and gave Billy an Indian sunburn that the lad would not soon forget. Waves of searing hot pain emanated from his wrist and racked his body, causing him to jump backwards as if he were a stuntman on wires. But Billy was no stuntman. There were no pillows waiting to break his fall, and the unimaginable pain causing his face to contort was real. From above, a nightstick came crashing down and gave Billy a good knock, but he was too distracted from the Indian burn to care. He wished he could cut his arm off. He looked down at his wrist. In the red haze of agony, he saw a shining glimmer. It was blurry at first. Then it took shape. He could just barely make it out. But there it was. Omega. Of course. Thank God. By some divine providence, Billy had chosen today to wear his custom Omega Speedmaster watch, the one with OnStar built in. He quickly pressed some buttons and put his thumb on the glass, which was also a fingerprint scanner. It beeped and buzzed. Then a rainbow pinwheel animation was displayed, indicating that the watch was processing information. He just prayed that Musty was out there listening. Before the watch could respond, the man with the white face paint reached back over and Indian sunburned Billy so hard that the watch flew off like a soda bottle cap. This one wasn't so painful for Billy because he immediately lost consciousness, flying backwards faster than someone who touched an electric fence at a dinosaur park. Ramiro was familiar with fine watches, and while he'd never seen an Omega with OnStar, he figured Billy had been up to no good. Running over to the watch, he looked down to see that the rainbow pinwheel was still spinning. Perfect, John Ramiro laughed to himself. Then he gave the watch a good stomp. He stomped it once, twice, then a dozen times more to be sure that it was broken and couldn't carry out whatever command Billy had issued. The Omega ticked on. Frustrated, Ramiro picked it up again, pulling out a pearl-handled Kimber 1911 from his Bobblebee backpack. He threw the watch up into the air, waved his pistol several times as a master swordsman waves a rapier, and fired a military-style double tap at the airborne timepiece. But there was something that Laughing John Ramiro didn't know. Destroying an Omega wristwatch is literally impossible. The Speedmaster spun like a Beyblade and hit the ground, where it continued to spin for a minute, stirring up a mini dust and trash tornado. When it finally came to a stop, the exterior was glowing red, hotter than the metal skin on an SR-71 Blackbird after breaking the sound barrier. The rainbow pinwheel popped off, and in its place a message appeared. Command received. The men were now heaving Billy's limp body into the air and chanting louder than ever. Some foamed at the mouth, some sucked their pipes and cigars so hard that their teeth hurt, but all wanted to see the lad get wet. Off in the distance, a 15,000 horsepower train engine roared. It is guaranteed that none of these savages had ever in their lives seen a Stage 3 Roush racing Mustang, but, like vicious wolves, they had some evolutionary respect and a fear of loud noises that caused them now to be on notice. John Ramiro felt a lump in his throat that slowly sank down to his stomach. The furious sound grew closer. The men stopped heaving Billy into the air, and the lad started to regain consciousness. Some of the cigar and pipe smokers went slack-jawed, dropping their pipes and cigars to the ground. Some puffed on their pipes and cigars even faster than before. Then Musty was upon them. The deafening thunder of the 98mm quad turbocharged Roush Performance V8 drowned out the screams of the depraved men. Musty pulled hard to the right, then to the left, using a Scandinavian flick to initiate a drift. Musty had been programmed to imitate the greatest racing driver of all time, the Drift King Tanner Faust. But since her initial programming, the sentient AI had learned a thing or two of her own, and this drift now being displayed was something that even the Drift King couldn't pull off on his best day. Musty came into the corner with over a 90-degree entry angle, well past the point of no return for an ordinary car. But thanks to special carbon fiber tie rods and A-arms, she was able to drift at angles up to 270 degrees without spinning out. In a huge cloud of dirt and trash, Musty drifted through the crowd, hitting men with her fenders and sending them flying, and using her exhaust as a flamethrower. Left and right, men were running for the hills, many of them taking hard pulls from their cigars and pipes, and some others tugging at the loose fabric of their pants. John Romero took one last puff from 2 cigars and a pipe at the same time, before Musty's right rear 22-inch Asante wheel swept his legs out from under him and sent him soaring through the air, doing so many misty flips that no X Games judge could possibly have kept count. Billy sat up bewildered. Musty opened a Lamborghini-style scissor door and activated the milk crate seat's soothing Hitachi magic wand. Inside, she played some of Billy's favorite rock music. Come on, kid. We got a circus to catch. Whew! Man, I'm getting hot in here. This story has taken so many twists and turns and bumps and bruises, and even I don't know what's going to happen next. If you guys think you know what's going to happen next, leave a comment in the chat box. Also, I'd like to take a moment here to remind you that if you have a pipe or a cigar handy, and you're enjoying the smooth, aromatic, flavored tobacco, maybe a fine Turkish tobacco or an Oriental tobacco, or a vanilla or cherry scented, maybe a grape tobacco, now would be a good time to light up. You could even light up a hookah if you wanted to. I'm going to light up these scented candles. This one is scented with persimmon. This one is a pomegranate scented candle, as you can see. I'm going to light that up. And I like to mix and customize the flavors and sort of make my own flavor. I use different lighters for different scents, because the sophisticated palette, you can ruin it. You can definitely ruin it with using the same lighter. This is a cinnamon. So I've got cinnamon and pomegranate going. Very good. Ooh, yeah. And this is a big candle. This one makes quite an odor. And this is a pizza scented one. I smell it already. That's good. That's fresh, hot, cheesy pizza right there. Ooh. It's almost like I have a fresh, hot, cheesy pizza right here that I'm eating. This is good. And we have, this is a French fry candle. That one is going to be good. That's going to mix up good with those flavors. And then I like to have, if I have a bunch of salty scents, savory scents, I like to have something sweet. And so this is caramelized apple covered in chocolate and also covered in cheese. It's a cheesy scent. Oh man. Hope you guys are enjoying this, because I'm not, and this is going to take another 3 goddamn hours to finish. Let me just check my Bitcoins real quick. Lost a lot of money. Lost a lot of money. Young Shinji Main donating $12.34. Thank you, my man. You are the man. Snazzle So, someone with a funny Facebook name, Snazzle Defenke. I wish I could donate, but I have none in my PayPal. Well, you also have holes in your shoes, and you'll never be anything because you're broke. I'm just kidding, man. Sorry. Very nice. Someone insulting me on Facebook? That's great. That's just what I needed. That's just what I needed, man. Another kick in the nuts right now. I'm going to report you for stealing my intellectual property is what I'm going to do. All right, you guys. We're going to jump right back in here. Not going to take too long. Want to remind you, please send over some shekels. PayPal is alienmode@gmail.com. I am a traveling bard. This is how I earn my keep. My day job, for those of you who are wondering, is a toilet cleaner. So if you want me to not have to clean toilets anymore, send over some cash. And the other thing that I'd like to remind you of is that this story is an excerpt from the MDE book titled How to Bomb the U.S. Government. And it's going to be a 600 fucking page book. And this is not asking for money. There's not going to be any pre-orders here. And the book's going to be pretty expensive to print. We're going to try to ship it out cheaply. It's not going to be, we're probably not going to make much money at all with this. And I'm sure that it's not going to sell it any more than 500 copies or something like that. But the reason I'm telling you is because it's going to be a very special thing. It's something to be excited about. We've been working on it for a year. It's full of cartoons and essays and all sorts of crazy shit. So be ready for that when it does come out. It's going to be awesome. It's definitely a magnum opus, a big project on the same scale as Ideas Man or Tissue Box or whatever in print form, and it's piss pants funny. Nick's cartoons are like they're out of this world, man. They're so fucking funny. All right. Now we're gonna jump back into this motherfucking story here. We got another 3 hours to go. I hope you're having a good holiday season. Because I am not. My back hurts. And I'm going to bitch and complain and gripe. And I'll be blubbering just like Billy does later on in the story. We'll get to that. Go on the MDE IRC channel. YouTube chat is terrible. I'm sorry, but I'm not a hacker. And I don't go on the deep web, and I do not know how to use IRC. Isn't that pathetic? I'm using AIM right now. So hit me up on AIM, guys, and send me nude pictures, and I will send you some back. And I have taken a very sexy photo set of myself wearing this t-shirt and nothing else. And you'll get that if you send me $10 USD or more. Bunch of people sending $420 USD. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Thank you, guys. Thanks to everybody who's chipping in here. A few bucks here and there. Really do appreciate that. It's very nice of you. Thank you guys who are calling Nick and bothering him. As I said before, his phone number is 401-641-8359. We met at Starbucks today, and he was telling me how much he liked getting the calls. So definitely hit him up. And the funny thing is, Charles actually got an Obama phone, and it was just so funny. I don't know if he posted a picture to Facebook or not, but it's not really funny. It's just satisfying. It's good to see someone getting an Obama phone. He really did get one. It's kind of awesome that he did that. All right, candles are going out. I guess it's time to start the story back up here, guys. Here we go. We're going well into midnight with this motherfucker. Chapter 9. Billy goes to the big top. Inside the big tent, Billy breathed a sigh of relief. Despite the horrible nature of what he just endured and how much worse it could have been had the men had their way, he was just happy to finally be inside the circus. He was a good kid like that, always focusing on positive things, able to find the silver lining of any cloud. He whispered into his watch, "Hey, Musty, thanks again, babe. You really saved the day." Musty said nothing, but instead revved happily and honked her horn, and Billy signed out of the chat, turning to watch the circus. And what a circus it was. It was everything Billy had imagined it to be. No, in fact, it was better. There were ribbon dancers, fire breathers, and elephants galore, being whipped left and right. There were break dancers whose elegant black bodies were moving with the flow of African Caribbean rhythms, and men with whips whipping the dancers to keep them dancing smooth. The air was fragrant with fresh, hot peanuts and freshly cooked hot dogs covered in ketchup, mustard, relish, and all the fixins. Billy smiled the warm smile of true contentment. He had never been happier in his whole life. Even those pesky clowns didn't seem so bad today. They were going around in their tiny cars, honking their noses, spraying fresh seltzer water at each other. But Billy just couldn't be bothered by them. Everything was perfect, and the clowns, heck, he didn't mind them. The announcer took center stage in the middle ring. He was a kind-looking man, finely dressed in a long-tailed coat like an orchestra conductor, in one hand holding a metal-tipped whip, and in the other an old-timey acoustic megaphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Grand Circus!" There was loud applause. "We have an amazing show for you today, a curious cavalcade of characters, a magnificent medley of mayhem, a preposterous presentation of parlor tricks." Most of the audience members were bouncing up and down in their seats, unable to contain their excitement. "And it has become known to me today that we have a very special boy in our presence. Yes, ladies and lads, we have a young boy here today who's wanted to come to the circus more than anything in his whole life." A steampunk orchestra marched out with big drums and tubas and whistles and gear goggles and rifles with golden scopes, steampunk rifles with tubes going to air pressure tanks on the back. And there were flying whirligig copters and all sorts of steampunk gentlemen in pith helmets and top hats and Victorian dress ascots to be seen everywhere. And that was his royal ship, Prince Peterson, with a monocle and he's using magic with one hand and casting spells with it, and then in the other hand he had a steampunk gun, a Gatling gun, a Gatling pistol, and he was shooting all sorts of zombies, Victorian English zombies, and he had on pointy wingtip shoes and their jet boots, Victorian steam jet boots. Billy was startled by the announcer's announcement. From out of nowhere, two giant spotlights swung over and beamed on him. He instantly turned completely red, like a lobster. "Please, ladies and lads, a big round of applause, big round of applause, big round of applause for Billy!" The crowd roared. Confetti and streamers rained down, and clowns sprayed geysers of seltzer high into the air. It was an extravagant sight, one would expect to find in Las Vegas, not in some small-town circus. Billy was overjoyed. He laughed and clapped and tugged at the stockings of his mother and the loose fabric of his own pants, his mother sitting next to him eating fresh, hot peanuts one by one. Then the audience died down for the announcer to get on with the show. With a flourish of the wrist, he produced from thin air a magic wand. He cleared his throat and took a moment to appreciate the delicious silence of a rapt audience. While he had done this trick 1,000 times, it never got old. It was pure theater, and he was a master player. With a grandiose wave and a ballerina spin, the announcer pointed his... Did I just delete it? How do you undo it? Come on, man. What the fuck, man? The announcer pointed his wand at the elephant and fired a magic bolt. With a zip-zap crash, the bolt sparkled through the air and struck the elephant squarely on the trunk. There was a giant explosion of pink fire, blue sparks, yellow smoke. The elephant immediately dropped dead to the floor. The crowd roared. The applause was so loud it was deafening. Billy jumped and hooted. The man next to him stomped his feet and slapped his thighs. A lady 2 rows down threw her peanuts into the air, and others tried to catch the falling peanuts in their mouths. The announcer cleared his throat into the megaphone. Ahem, I do say, ahem. Please, ladies and lads, calm down. There's more. The elephant rumbled a bit, then started to smoke. The announcer swung his wand in a windmill wind-up, like an old-time cartoon boxer preparing to swing. He said some magic words, did a front flip, clacked his heels together, and fired another bolt, this time at the audience. It crackled through the air and struck one man in the bridge of the nose. Then it zoomed all the way across the tent to strike another man square in the temple. Then the bolt of magic energy broke off into 2 bolts, both careening around the tent, striking people indiscriminately. The twin bolts scorched the air on their path around the 3 rings, and finally they came back together, intertwining like 2 snakes in passion and crashing into the dead elephant. There was an enormous eruption of confetti and streamers, and multicolored smoke filled the room until it was nearly impossible to see anything. Suddenly, the air became very cold and then very hot, and all 200 audience members felt the sensation of 24 child fingers tickling and poking at their backsides. This sure was some trick. Finally, the smoke cleared, the elephant was gone, and in its place stood an incredible sight. Dressed up in lacy black lingerie, complete with stockings and garter belt, and made up with lipstick and face paint as if to appear beautiful, it was the world-famous Fat Woman. Not a single Fanny in the house remained sitting. All at once, the audience rose to their feet and clapped wildly. Such was the glee at seeing this perverse oddity. A man behind Billy choked on his cigar and exhaled a puff of smoke so big that it completely enveloped Billy. Billy clapped and clapped, churning the air around him such that the smoke became a mini tornado and spun away. The Fat Woman was glorious. No one had seen such a sight before. She must have been close to 300 pounds, and her girth was such that her lingerie had to be specially made by master craftsmen. The circus folk had taken great pains to doll her up, making her as beautiful as such a hideous creature could be, and all the townspeople found this profoundly amusing. Here before them was a monstrous woman dressed in sexy lingerie with an elaborate hairdo and made up as if she were a beauty pageant queen. Everybody laughed. An old-timey microphone descended from the rafters, and the incredible Fat Woman launched into some sort of stand-up comedy routine. "Look at me! I'm just as sexy and elegant as a normal-sized woman," she said with a knowing smirk, to uproarious laughter. "I think I'll model my new lingerie and take some pictures of myself, because so many men would love to see me in suggestive poses." Again, there were hearty laughs to be had throughout. The fat woman posed and made kissy faces, and a gorgeous, slender young woman dressed identically was brought out for comparison. The fat woman made ugly faces at the slender one, feigning disgust, as though her slender young body were less appealing than her own heaving mass. Then a series of shirtless, muscle-bound men came running out. They fawned over and knelt before the incredible fat woman, pretending to be somehow attracted to the unlovable beast, and they utterly ignored the thin woman, who, to any sane person's eyes, appeared to be a goddess in comparison with the fat. Finally, as funny as her pantomime had been, everybody grew tired of seeing the fat woman. In fact, many in the audience had eye aches and were rubbing their eyes frantically. She was ushered away to her feeding trough, and the stage was cleared for the announcer again. End of chapter 9. And with this, I have to take a piss and get another gallon of water. I feel like I'm in a desert right now. I guess because I have so many GPUs churning out Litecoin hashing, whatever the fuck it's called. It's pretty hot in here. It's about 95 degrees Celsius. So I will see you, fine folks, in about a minute and a half. It just occurred to me that we're still going strong here. We have about 7,000 viewers. And you guys have been watching for like 2 hours now. And I hope we're all having a good time and you're feeling some sort of hot candle wax on your hand, some sort of sense of camaraderie, or you're just enjoying a good story. But if you guys are, if anybody out there is lonely or suffering from the winter sads, I gotta tell you, two things that you need to do if you're having a bad time in this nasty old winter. First of all, do yourself a favor and Take some vitamin D. This is 5,000 units here. I take 2 of these a day. If I forget to take these, I get all depressed and sad. Not really depressed. Just I feel like I'm. I just feel like I'm not. It just feels like tired. Not tired. Just like not. I just want to stay in bed all day. It's fucking pathetic. But it's not. Don't kick yourselves for feeling that way. Winter, you know. People in Alaska commit suicide all the time because it's pretty depressing not having daylight for most of the day. So take vitamin D and get out of the house. Go for a walk. Try to walk for like an hour a day. I eat these like they're candy, because they are candy to me. I eat lots of candy too. If you can get yourself a nice piece of candy, like a Snickers bar or something like that, that will make you happy. This is millet. This is millet, which is usually pretty healthy, but I've infused it with caramelized Kit Kat bars, and it is good. But that's my advice. If any of you guys out there are here watching this video because you're lonely and you're having a bad time, please stick around and listen to this great story. It's literally better than any fictional story ever written. Any sort of epic tale, you know, Lord of the Rings, whatever. This story is going to kick its ass. But if you're having a bad time this winter, please take vitamin D. Please take a fucking vitamin D supplement and get out of the house the first thing in the morning as soon as you wake up. As soon as you wake up at 2 p.m., go outside. It will set the tone for the rest of your day, every day. Walk for an hour. Or 30 minutes or whatever. And when you're walking, you can do stuff. You can listen to an audiobook. You can smoke a pipe or a cigar. You know, if you have access to fine cigars, if you have a humidor, a walk-in humidor, it's all good. The fuck? And I just saw that this broadcast is going to be terminated in an hour. And I am not going to rush through this story. I'm going to treat this story with the respect it deserves. So, when this is over, I'm going to start a new live event immediately. And now here's the catch. This live event right now has 6,747 viewers. If all 6,747 viewers aren't in the second live event, I'm not going to be telling shit. So everybody needs to migrate to the next event. And this is good. When you put candy, anything you don't want to eat, if you have something healthy like broccoli, when it doesn't taste good, if you coat it with sugar or some sort of candy coating, it's gonna go down your throat smooth. All right. Let's light those pipes and cigars back up and jump back in here. Let's do it, baby. Here we go. Chapter 10. The Clown. I gotta keep eating this, I'm sorry. Almost done, almost done. A lot of you guys, you like Vor videos? Like Vor? Just imagine the spoonful is a little miniature version of you, and I'm eating you. Ugh. All right. We are fetish friendly here at MDE. Chapter 10. The Clown. The time had come for the final act. Strobe lights fired left and right, in many cases inches away from the audience members' faces, blinding them. In the center ring, the announcer was showboating around, doing a chicken dance, sprinting back and forth on his tiptoes, waving his hands like the maitre d' of a fancy restaurant, and pretending like he was in a prison break and the spotlight was a guard tower light. The audience applauded enthusiastically, and he soaked it up, alternately making sarcastic "who me" faces and pretending like the audience applause was machine gun fire and he was being riddled with bullets. He then whipped off his coat, bow tie, cummerbund, and shirt with one motion, revealing another set underneath. Then he bent over the elephant's drinking trough and took many gulps of dirty brown water. After he'd had his fill, he turned to the crowd and made a face and a hand signal as if to say, "Oh yeah!" After several minutes of this showing off and grandstanding, the lights came to a rest, and he motioned for the crowd to settle down. Billy was so excited, he nearly bit both lips off. The cigar man behind him was making frantic noises, and he mule-kicked Billy several times in the back of the head. Such was his excitement. The announcer took out a starter pistol and fired it into the air, demanding the complete attention of everyone. The whole tent fell silent. "Ladies and lads, our show is nearly over, and it's about time to go home. But we wanted to make sure you get all your money's worth, and you get to go home with smiling faces. And to be perfectly honest, we wanted to make sure that you get to see the best goddamn circus that you've ever seen in your meager little lives." The announcer smirked fiercely. He paused, and he paused for an unnecessary amount of time, relishing in the fact that he had just made the entire tent full of people his bitch. "That's right, suck it, little bitches," he thought to himself, and said aloud inadvertently, "That's why we saved the best for last. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Clown." With a puff of smoke, the announcer was lifted off on wires, flying to some unknown place behind the stands. The strobe lights fired again, even brighter than before, and so much confetti rained down that one could barely see 5 feet in front of himself. Air raid sirens blared, deafening anyone who didn't cover their ears, and Hitachi magic wands were activated in all the seats. Giant air conditioners all throughout the tent were turned on simultaneously, as well as space heaters. The heat was searing, and the cold was bone-chilling. In the center ring, an iris opened up, and from it rose a metal platform on which stood the Clown. He was dressed in full clown regalia, with giant red shoes, baggy harlequin pants with a big target emblazoned on the crotch, a fine striped vest, and a shirt with big blousy sleeves, epaulets, and a multicolored pinwheel hat. Oh, and of course a giant red nose. He was standing with his arms crossed and his legs wide, waiting for the platform to come to a stop. As soon as it did, the confetti stopped pouring. The air conditioners and heaters and strobe lights shut off, and the whole tent was held in icy silence, utterly captivated. Then, clown music blared. The clown sprung into action, wielding seltzer bottles in both hands as he charged at the crowd. When he reached the front row, he stopped and sprayed both bottles high into the air, showering everyone with a cool, refreshing mist. The music changed to a more upbeat, synthesized clown music, and the clown wiggled his hips. People could just not believe what they were seeing. He did back handsprings, about 50 of them total, until he was at the opposite end of the tent. The audience screamed as they jived with this cool clown. He took out a cigar, a big one, put it in one lucky man's mouth, and gave him a light. Moments later, the cigar exploded, and the clown cartwheeled his way back to the middle of the ring. The fat and thin women from earlier quickly wheeled out a big trampoline. The clown gave them both silly kisses and sent them on their way with a spray from the seltzer bottle. He then mounted the trampoline and gave a big bow before starting to jump. The crowd hooted as he jumped higher and higher. Each time they thought he had gone the highest he could go, the clown proved them wrong by going higher. Billy started to feel dizzy from following the clown with his eyes as he soared up and down, flipping and twirling the whole way. The clown then jumped so high that he actually reached the rafters above, which he grabbed a hold of and pulled himself up. Like a cat or some sort of night burglar, the clown pranced dangerously along the rafters, tossing water balloons down on the crowd. The water balloons were actually filled with shaving cream, and they coated everyone with frothy white foam upon bursting. Of course, everybody was delighted with this, and they begged and begged and called out to the clown, hoping to be his next target. Down came a balloon right atop Billy's big head. His hair must have been very soft, because this one didn't burst on landing, and so to help things along, the cigar man behind him gave him a swift kick. The kick missed the balloon, only striking Billy on the crown, and the balloon went tumbling over down 2 rows and tucking itself neatly down the shirt front of a woman in an elegant white gown. The man next to her had no problem gingerly removing the thing, which he then hurled back into the center ring, where it landed with a loud splat. The clown swung down on wires like an eagle, snatching up one audience member's hot dog, then flew back up. He came down for a second dive, took a healthy sip from someone's soda cup, and again shot back into the air. Those in the crowd who'd seen the clown before knew that this was the prelude to the best part of the show, and they relished it accordingly. Those who were newcomers had no idea what was to follow, but the ominous feeling in the air was undeniable, and many chose to sit on their hands for fear of biting their nails to the quick. On a rafter, the clown took a grandiose bow and then proceeded to tap dance a little bit, which, of course, everyone thought was very clever. A flap opened on the side of the tent, and the gang of shirtless, well-oiled, well-muscled men wheeled in an ornate pie cart stacked to the very top with fresh cream pies. The clown was hoisted down to the center ring very slowly so as to heighten the excitement and pleasure. On either side of the giant circus tent, big fat women struck at even bigger taiko drums and danced so that their bellies jiggled with the rhythm. Left and right, people had to smack themselves out of disbelief. This was truly a show like none other in the world. The clown picked up 2 pies, one in each hand. He skipped and leaped, and the ropes hoisted him away with a vicious jerk. He flew toward the stands with amazing speed and decked 2 unsuspecting people clean in the face with the pies. The victims had the good sense not to cover their faces. To cover one's face before a pie attack was a sign of grave disrespect, not only towards the clown, but also towards the whole circus. And any sort of face covering or flinching would result in the whole circus being shut down and everybody's night being ruined. It was important to take the pie head on and be brave. Billy's father told him of a tale once, where he was young enough to love when he was young enough to love the circus and the circus games. The brave general himself, although he didn't talk about it much, was also an avid circus goer, and once upon a time he had indeed been pied in the face by the illustrious clown. Of course, being a general in the army, Billy's father was more than ready for the pie and faced it without cowardice. But in that story there lay a warning for young Billy, because after the general had taken the pie, the clown then went on to the next victim, pie in hand. This time around, the pie was destined for a coal miner with charred skin and fraying boots, a man that looked rougher and tougher than most. However, when it came time to take his pie, he flinched, jerking out of his seat and avoiding the pie at the last minute. Well, Billy's father had always said the rest of the story was too tragic to tell Billy, but rest assured, everyone's circus day was ruined, and that old coal miner was laughed out of town. Billy thought now of the old coal miner and what could possibly have happened to him. To think of it, committing such a mistake in such a public arena, it chilled him to the core. The thought was so hypnotizing that Billy did not notice the clown flying at him presently, pie arm cocked. End of chapter 10. Chapter 11. The last days of Big Billy. The next few moments would seal Billy's fate forever. This he knew immediately upon seeing the clown with his evil grin. The lad dug his heels deep into the dusty, trash-covered floor and clenched his fingers tight around the rim of his seat. Would he be a good boy and not flinch? Or would he mess this up like everything else in his life? Sure, he wasn't built to excel at maths or become some sort of great opera conductor, but the circus was everything to him. The circus was life, and he had studied for this moment since he was old enough to listen to the general and his wise tales. He closed his eyes and braced for the gooey impact, thinking of his mother and of Musty and all the school children who looked up to him and wanted to see him succeed. But the gooey impact didn't come. He opened his eye a crack. There was the pie, mere inches from his face. He could see the detail, the soft mounds of whipped cream, the ridges of the yummy pie crust, the shiny foil of the pan, the hard rock in the middle surrounded by razor blades and nails. It was all there. And yet why wasn't it in his face? He looked around, and the whole arena was looking dead at him, open-mouthed. There was the clown, equally shocked, and as Billy looked more, the face of the clown turned from shock to disgust and then to anger. "He must have flinched! He didn't take his pie!" one man sputtered through cigar-clenched teeth. Billy's stomach dropped. Some men are lucky enough to die quickly, without ever knowing the meaning of real death. Billy now experienced the opposite. Death was upon him and all around him, but without the relief that actual death affords its victims. The color drained from his skin, and he couldn't feel his hands. The sickest part is, somewhere deep down, he knew he deserved this. He didn't remember flinching, but of course he did flinch. Of course he had screwed this up like everything else. That big, ugly head of his must have been full of chicken nuggets, because it sure wasn't full of any brains. Oh, how Billy wished he could just dash his head against that rock in the pie. He wished someone would come and kick him in the head with steel-toed boots. If only fate would be merciful enough now to send some good Samaritan to put him to sleep. "Mess him up!" an old lady yelled. "He didn't take his pie! Cut him in two!" another voice cried. Voices continued to ring out until the whole place was calling for Billy's blood. Billy punched coordinates into his Omega watch, but the tent must have had some sort of communication jamming technology, because the watch just blipped and blooped and went dead. He could barely stand up straight. He was breathing too fast. The cigar man behind him reached over and stripped all of his clothes off in one motion. The crowd cheered cruelly. The clown was laughing his head off. What could be so funny in such a grave and horrible situation? The people in the crowd jeered and threw rotten vegetables, aiming for Billy's eyes and then his crotch. The man behind him mule-kicked at Billy's head and neck as if he were trying to start a troublesome dirt bike. All around, people spewed hate, and yet all the clown could do is laugh and laugh. Billy's field of vision closed down, and his ears went deaf to the crowd's noise. In the middle of the soupy blackness, there was a pinprick of light, in the center of which stood the clown. The clown grew larger and larger still, until snarled old clown teeth were all that Billy could see and smell, and the hot clown breath, stinking, was all that Billy could hear. The clown reached in close, and in a hateful hiss, he whispered to Billy the truth.
You didn't flinch, Billy. I just don't like you. Fuck you.
Since the clown had rushed at him, tricked him, and taken from him everything that mattered, it had only been 60 seconds, but it felt like 6 hours. Billy was now living through a slow-motion nightmare, custom-tailored only for him, and nobody, not his mother, not Musty, not his best friend Petter, not Mr. Myth-Tetcher, could help him. And here, my dear viewers, friends and supporters, and people who are enjoying a fine story, perhaps smoking a pipe or two, or a cigar, here is where we would end our tale. The hapless hero was given every gift in the world from God, and in the end, like in all the tragedies of ancient Greece, his hubris, his sense of invincibility, proved his undoing. Yes, this is where we would end, if this were a mere story. But this is not a story. This is reality. And in reality, the tragedy doesn't end quite so quickly and painlessly. No. In reality, the characters are given a lifetime to chew themselves to pieces, to torture themselves with the memory of their folly. I sold my car and took out a large loan with 20% APR, using my own beloved mother as co-signer, all to purchase bitcoins near their 2013 peak of $1,200, only to lose my nerve after the Chinese crash and sell everything at $500. It's a real story. I also got STDs cheating on my girlfriend and gave them to her. But this story is about Billy and the consequences of his actions. Chapter 12. Big good morning for Billy. A deadly chill crept through the blast doors and nipped at Billy's toes, causing him to stir. It was always like that in his dwell pod, as he lived in the poorest district of the hub, and these pods were kept in particularly poor states of repair. With a defeated groan, he arose and looked out the fist-sized viewport at a bleary landscape. "Hello there, Bilbo," a digital voice wheezed. "Hello, hello, Bartholomew," said a drained Billy. Bartholomew was Billy's digital concierge, or Digicon. He was the cheapest and lowest quality concierge, with barely any RAM bus and no apps. But it was nearly impossible to get by without a Digicon, and at least Billy had one. "In the news today, mister, here's the headlines. Bomb goes off, kills people. Big guns, drugs, war. New singer, big breasts." "Enough!" cried Billy, giving Bartholomew a good thwap about the noggin with a rolled-up towel. "I've had enough of you, you fucking piece of shit!" Another thwack with the towel sent Bartholomew spinning across the room, sputtering nonsense and spraying sparks everywhere. Ah, man, now I've really done it. Why didn't that blasted clown just put me out of my misery? Every day is hell. Every day is hell. Oh, God, how I just want to die. Please, please, God, if you have any mercy, kill me. Kill me, God. Billy fell to his knees. The floor had a shallow pool of water. The thermoseals must have been leaking again. It was apparent that God was not going to kill him, but he'd still make sure Billy had a bad day. He could hear the clown whispering to him from the past. Fuck you, Billy. Fuck you. Billy issued a voice command, or voice comm. Fridge, open. The slick metal door to Billy's fridge did so. Inside, a paltry amount of food, and nothing healthy at all, just junk. Billy reached for a big tub of Breyer's Neapolitan ice cream. He opened it up, and all the chocolate was gone. The chocolate ice cream was the only one that Billy liked, but Neapolitan is all they sold at the dehydrated ice cream automat, so it was either an ice cream flavor he didn't like or go without ice cream entirely. Billy wept quietly at the sight. An outsider might have heard Billy's dilemma and his blubbering and thought him a spoiled brat. But what people who have it easy don't understand is that when the entire weight of the world is on your back, one more little straw can bring the whole house of cards crashing down. Billy went ahead and dug into the vanilla. It was miserable, but he needed the sugar to sustain himself or he would surely die. He hated himself every moment. The general wouldn't have blubbered like this. Mother wouldn't have blubbered like this. Even Petter, who was a coward, more cowardly than Billy, wouldn't have blubbered like this. The sweet cream was too good for Billy. He deserved to eat boo-boo. He wished he could kick himself in the crotch and in the head, but he couldn't reach. So instead he pinched himself all about the forearms and on the inside of his thighs. It hurt, but not enough. So he issued a voice comm for the kitchen drawer to open, and from it pulled a sharp-looking fork. He used it to poke himself in the tummy until he was through. Then he knew the time for self-pity was over. God fucking damn it, man. I need to go to the hospital tonight. He could probably make himself cry a bit more, but it wouldn't be as satisfying. He dragged himself to his wardrobe, put on his single rubber suit, and shuffled out the door. Chapter 13. Billy's Big Bad Day. Work that day was especially tedious. Once again, he was chosen for toilet shift at the sewer plant, which was the worst possible job for any worker at the whole hub. He knew the other men were cheating him, hacking into the mainframe and altering the reports so that he'd be selected for toilet shift more often than not. But he didn't care. He knew that out of all of them, he was best suited for toilet shift, because out of all of them, he was the only one with no pride. Like so many victims, he let his aggressors bully him, because it felt right, because it was right. Like so many victims, he deserved to be a victim. As he descended down into the toilet tanks, his radio buzzed, and out squawked the voice of young Petter, now all grown up. Billy, we need these tanks to be real clean. They're coming down to do an inspection later. Fuck you. Billy stammered. What was that last part? They're coming down to do an inspection later. Thank you, Billy. Of course, Petter didn't say F you to Billy. He was always so kind. And he didn't need to be either. Petter got good grades all throughout school and made all the right moves afterwards. He'd taken a sizable inheritance and invested it in foreign companies, making himself a fortune fit for a king. He was a Goldie, and as such, he was fit for any job in the hub, choosing for himself a cushy role as commander at the sewer plant. Petter had really made it. He had a dream job, and he was able to eat rich and exotic foods. And often Billy looked up and wondered what it would be like if things had gone differently. Let's get some candles going in here. Some scented candles again. This one's dirt. There we go. Beautiful. Billy reached down for the next rung of the ladder, but instead found a control valve lever. He put his weight on it, and the control valve opened, spraying Billy with boo-boo and knocking him backwards to tumble down the well. Along the way, he knocked his head good on the metal rim of the breather tube, spun, and was split right between the legs by a hard metal pipe. He yelled for help and then slid off, free-falling 40 feet down into the sewage below. He landed with a giant splash of icky goo. It was all darkness for a moment, but somehow Billy managed to fight his way to the surface. The lad wasn't done yet. He still had some in him, just like his old man, the General. Beneath him, 200,000 tons of molten sewage rumbled and churned in a way that it usually doesn't. Something had gone horribly wrong. His radio cracked and buzzed. "Billy, did you break something down there? God damn, man! You stupid asswipe! Ever since we were kids, you were a liability. I always knew it. I always knew you'd fuck me. I'm gonna lose my job thanks to you. You and that big empty head." Billy tread sewage for dear life, choking on the stuff and reaching for support but finding none. Some kind of strange, hot brown sludge, Billy didn't know what it was, invaded his lungs and eyes and mouth and ears. Billy had no idea what the stuff was, but it sure had a smell to it. It smelled familiar, almost like booby or dudum. It was churning and flowing around him, the strong undulations tugging at his legs and trying to pull him under. He fought and fought for dear life, but with every thrust of his arms and every kick of his legs, he seemed to just sink deeper and deeper into the stinky no-no. He reached out and his fingers found something. His chest filled with hope and then despair as he realized he'd struggled his way to the very bottom of the tank. The clown was down there with him, as always, whispering and laughing. "Fuck you, Billy! Ha ha ha! Fuck you!" He finally managed to get the handle of his grappling gun, or grap gun, just as it seemed the sewage was going to consume him. He fired it straight up towards the control tower. The magnetic claw torpedoed through the brown nana like a harpoon, breaking the surface with a great big blast of shit, soared through the air, grabbed the metal bottom of the control tower, and the cable instantly became taut. Petter barked some profanities through the radio, but Billy didn't care. A moment later, he rocketed upwards, out of the toilet tank to safety. Chapter 14. Billy gives Petter a big surprise. "You poor son of a bitch, man. The boss is really going to shit when he sees what you did," one of the nearby workers said, half to Billy and half to himself. "Thanks, but keep your black opinion to yourself," Billy said. Billy looked down. "Ow! Oh, yeah. Get the hat back on me. Come on, where's that hat going here?" Billy looked down. The toilet tank was undulating like a jacuzzi and frothing with steam. He must have broken something really expensive. Red alarm lights were flashing everywhere, and all around the sewer plant, men in rubber suits were running around frantically. A digital voice blared over the intercom. "Attention, sewer plant workers. Continue working. Everything is good. Do not leave your post. Keep working. Attention, Goldies. Leave your posts and evacuate the plant immediately. Repeat, all Goldies evacuate the plant immediately." The door to the command tower opened, and out stepped a furious Petter. He was red in the face, his tie was loose, and his clothes were awry. He locked eyes with Billy and stormed down the golden spiral staircase. Billy stammered. Don't you say one word, you stupid motherfucker. You ugly fuck. I never had a rich general daddy like you did. I worked for everything I ever got. You had everything and you threw it away. I had nothing. I became a Goldie. You are stupid as fuck, man. You probably don't even understand what I'm saying to you right now. Petter jabbed at Billy's temple with 2 straight fingers. Is this registering with you, dude? Do you realize what you've done with your clumsy hands? This whole plant is minutes away from exploding thanks to you. God, fuck, you stupid fuck! Petter was going to spit right in Billy's face, but ultimately decided it wasn't worth it. He was right about Billy understanding not one word of his tirade, and to spit would have just been wasted energy. Petter kicked off both his shoes and dashed for the toilet tank, vaulting over the handrail and plunging into the murky depths below. A moment later, the sirens and alarms went off, and so did the giant vents that had been spraying aerosolized boo-boo everywhere. The digital voice from before boomed. Attention, all sewer plant workers and all Goldies, return to your stations. Repeat, all sewer plant workers and Goldies, return to your stations. Sewer plant status green, code G97A1. The workers came to their senses. Billy was able to catch his breath. He looked around. It appears as though the damage he'd done was minimal, but in the fray, he'd lost his best friend since childhood. He was dumbfounded, filled with crisscrossing feelings of relief and sadness. He knew today was going to be bad, but he hadn't known quite how bad could get. Billy took one last look down the toilet tank at his bosom buddy's final resting place. He shrugged. Oh well, just one more kick in the nuts, I guess. Chapter 15, Billy's Not-So-Big Yucky Meal. Billy made a stop at the Hokum dog stand on the way home. Hokum dogs were like hot dogs, but they weren't quite hot and therefore could not legally be said to be so. The price of heat and energy had risen so high that the antiquated notion of wasting it on food was absurd. Billy, like all other hub inhabitants, even the richest of the rich, had grown used to eating food that was nearly frozen. His Hokum dog was served on a cold, wet bun. The strip of meat-like synth meal in the middle slithered and wiggled as if it were alive. There was an app called What a Hokum available in the App Store that interfaced with one's neural synapses, causing the user to feel as though he were experiencing an expensive meal at a 5-star restaurant. It was very popular amongst gum-dums who couldn't afford the 10- and 15-star restaurant apps, but Billy hadn't upgraded the firmware in his Hewlett-Packard App Weasel, and so had to go raw. It was a disgusting meal, but he needed to eat something, and this was as good as it was going to get. He continued down back alleys and side streets until he made it to the main throughway, where gyroscopic unicycle personal transports could be rented from a kiosk for a small fee. The kiosk screens flickered to life. City Speeder Easy Trans. Please indicate your citizen class and scan your Gov ident. There were 3 tiers of City Speeders offered. For Goldies, the kiosk offered G600 Platinum models, which included Hitachi Magic Wand vibrators and a free cheesy pizza. For Glubnubs, who were the blue-collar working schmoes of the hub, the kiosk had Sony Intimidators and Daihatsu Tekken Pros, both of which were competent transporters that offered high degrees of luxury and style for the money. But Billy wasn't a Goldie or a Glubnub. He was a Gum-Dum, the lowest of the low, the social waste of the hub. He could barely afford an obsolete Digicon, and he had to eat sickening Hokum dogs every day. And the City Speeder that he had access to was the worst of the worst, a 3M iMover. With a heavy sigh, Billy mounted his rusty old eye-mover and got on with the business of getting himself home. People in the fast traffic lanes zipped past. Instead of horns, the first and second tier city speeders were equipped with electroshocking devices. So you could just point your device at another city speeder, press the button where the horn usually was, and give the person in your targeting reticle a good zap. As Billy puttered along, he was subjected to a barrage of electro bolts from malicious drivers, for no reason other than to punish him for driving such a turd. The 3M iMover had a top speed of 400 miles per hour, which meant that he had to endure this torture twice as long as if he were driving any other speeder. It was a brutal kick between the legs to have to deal with this at the end of a long day, and it wasn't made any more comfortable or convenient by the fact that most iMovers reeked of gasoline fumes and had barely any protection from the elements. It took Billy about 50 minutes, but finally he saw signs for Culture Center B67A, his home unit. He punched a few commands into the iMover's GUI, graphical user interface, and the speeder slowed down, turning towards the exit. A deafening mechanical hum then filled the cockpit. Billy didn't know why, but these particular speeders always seemed to do that on the last leg of his journey. By now, he'd grown so used to it and actually quite enjoyed the comforting roar of gears and drive shafts clanking and grinding. It reminded him that he was a worthless nothing and that he deserved hell, and he appreciated the honesty. A rush of cold air hit Billy as the doors to his dwell pod fired open. There was no safety mechanism on the doors, so they opened with the speed and strength of industrial equipment, and Billy had to stand clear. Inside, regulations meant that Billy had to keep everything below a certain temperature to combat global climate change, and furthermore, he had to pay for this air conditioning out of his own wages. It struck him as absurd and unfair, being forced to keep his own abode at such unbearably low temperatures, and to pay for it too. But ultimately, Billy decided that the masters, who were the final rank above Goldies, knew what was best, and that he, as stupid as he was, shouldn't go questioning anyone's decisions. Inside, Bartholomew was still sputtering and sparking on the wet floor. He would have to fix him soon. But first, some refreshments. Billy hurried over to the one table in the pod and laid down a crumpled-up paper hokum dog wrapper. He unfolded the waxy paper, smoothed it over, and sat down with a greedy look on his face. Usually, he liked to have a cold shower and put on some less dirty clothes before the one enjoyable part of his day. But today was so bad, Billy couldn't wait for his relaxation. In the center of the paper was a thin film of black tar, which Billy started scraping together into a dirty little ball, just slightly smaller than a pea. It was industrial soot, an amalgam of chemical byproducts typically found lining the sides of the giant smokestacks which were so ubiquitous. The soot was the savior of all gum-dums. Billy was no exception. Daily, his contact who worked at the smoke factory would set aside these chems for Billy, typically tucking them away in Billy's locker at the sewer plant, but sometimes delivering the goods through some more exotic means. Money was never involved. Initially, Billy thought maybe his smoke factory connection did the deed out of pity, but as time went on and the drug went from being a pleasurable escape to just another set of chains, Billy thought maybe his guardian angel was actually a Goldie who liked to get stupid gum-dums hooked as a joke. Now, Billy didn't care anymore. As long as he had the soot, he was happy not knowing anything. He tucked the ball neatly up his left nostril and collapsed face first onto the wet floor. All right, give me like a minute here. I'm starting to get a little weary. You can't even see straight over here. I'm going to be right back. We got a few more great chapters up ahead, though, you guys. So stick around. You're not going to believe how this story wraps up. And it's not even close to wrapping up because we're on page 43 out of 62. Oh! Oh! Okay. All right. Just did a little bit of Coke. Ready to get back to rolling here. Oh, God damn. For those of you who, I hope everybody's enjoying themselves. If not, I'm sorry for subjecting you to this piece of shit. But we're gonna get through this. We're gonna rock this. We're gonna smoke this motherfucker. Fresh hot coffee, a pipe, and a cigar. What else could you ask for? Here we go, y'all. Chapter 16. Billy's Great Big Realization. Billy woke up 48 hours later. Had the weekend really gone by so quickly? He viewed this fast passage of time as a good thing. For most people, Billy included, real life and any sort of experience that life could contain, even ones enhanced by hallucinogens or other more traditional drugs, were so miserable and undesirable that the most popular drug of the day, the soot, was popular precisely because it made people slip into a black hole and not have to deal with anything. The danger with heroin or weed or something like that is that while those drugs may trick you into thinking you don't have a care in the world, oftentimes subconsciously you did, and that would ruin your high. The only way to be 100% sure that no reality bummers would harshen your mellow is by putting yourself into a coma. Not a dreamlike state, but a full medical coma. When soot users woke up, there were more technological inventions. Their bank accounts had earned interest, and whatever problems that were bothering them were usually solved. Billy's only regret was that he couldn't afford enough soot to knock himself out for 100 years. Bartholomew? Billy had started to ask for the time when he realized that he had brained his Digicon in a fit of unhappiness. It was probably best to fix the thing before a minor inconvenience turned into a serious problem, and so Billy got out his toolkit. "Toolkit open," he commanded. Billy stood back, giving the toolkit plenty of room to open. A drawer at precisely nut level shot out like a pneumatic battering ram, giving all its contents a harsh jangle. Inside the high-tech weatherproof container was an eyeglass, screwdriver, some nylon thread, and dull tin snips. Billy removed them all and set upon his wounded robotic companion. "Bzzz, circus," Bartholomew belched. Billy's hands froze in their position. Circus. Bartholomew had just said circus. He racked his brain trying to think. Finally, he concluded what one would naturally conclude in such a situation. In fact, it was quite easy to see Billy was becoming insane and starting to hallucinate. Realizing this, Billy smiled a smile of relief and got back to work. For a moment there, he thought maybe something had gone wrong, but no, it was just his most horrifying failures from 2 years ago coming back to haunt him in the present day, probably for the rest of his life. Billy soldiered on, mending his dear artificial fellow with the tin snips. "Bzz, bzz, spark, spark, circus, today, circus, bzz." That time it was undeniable. Bartholomew had said circus. Frantically, Billy finished the repairs. He was no repairman, that's to be sure. But thankfully, the Kyocera My Bartholomew that was such a popular Digicon with gum-dums was pretty bulletproof, mainly due to the fact that it had to be simple enough for an idiot to operate. An idiot like Billy. A few screws tightened, a few wires rerouted, and soon Bartholomew was back in working order, albeit a little worse for wear. "In the news today, mister, here's the headlines. Bomb goes off, kills people, big gun." Billy stopped him short. No, you numbskull, that's news from Friday." "Drugs war, new single, big breast, cyber circus in town today only, hub citizens happy, free health care." Billy shot up like a young boy's willy. "Stop! That last article. Tell me what that was." "Well, master, it says here that everybody be real happy with their free health care, and it be working real well," Bartholomew said, happy to be of service. No, blast you, you computerized blockhead. The story before that. Tell me that one, about the circus. "Cyber circus, greatest in the world. featuring the amazing clown. Bartholomew was stopped short by a perfectly executed roundhouse kick which sent his head ricocheting around the room. A normal man, having just exercised such wild aggression, might take a moment to soak in the aftermath of his handiwork and how badass it was, maybe a little bit in shock at his own brass. But Billy had been molded by a lifetime of pain, and the gulf that stood between Billy and a normal man was light years across. It seemed Billy had lived 1,000 lifetimes consecutively, that his torture was so deep and profound that it spanned eons. All throughout those eons, Billy's nemesis was a figment, some clown that may once have been real but was always more of a myth than a man. In the years that followed his undoing, Billy added to the mystique of this myth, treating the clown in his own mind with fear and hatred, yes, but always with the reverence of a deity. It was hard to explain and impossible even for Billy to make sense of with his own limited mental resources. But something about Bartholomew's news report and the immediacy of this moment opened for Billy a window in his mind through which the clown was a man and not a myth. The window was closing fast. Maybe it had already closed, and no matter what, Billy would always be left with dust, a ruined life, nothing. But there was the open window with a man standing past it, and Billy knew that men bleed and men die. Back during the transition, the wheel conf, wealth confiscation, and Reedus fair redistribution, when all private wealth was seized and redistributed fairly, making the world better, Billy's family had done the right and only sensible thing and handed over the keys to their personal fortune to GovCom, along with anybody else who wanted to stay out of prison jail. But Billy hadn't been quite such a good boy. Like many little boys, he had that one special treasure that he wanted to keep, and so he did, risking his own life to do so. He knew he was a puddle of puke, he knew he deserved nothing, but something in his heart told him to hide that treasure until the moment was right. Billy hid the treasure so well, in fact, that he had forgotten about its existence until just now. It was now that Billy issued a voice comm that he thought he'd never issue. Drawer X11, open. With a burst of pneumatic pressure, a narrow and shallow drawer shot out like a robotic boxing arm and clipped Billy right between the legs. The pain staggered him, but there was no time for belly aching and blubbering now. He was the general. He reached into the drawer and deftly pulled out the gleaming Omega Speedmaster that he had keistered away from the feds so long ago. And with that, he was out the door. That's the end of Chapter 16. I'm getting a little alert here from Google saying that that they're going to close this in 5 minutes. So I'm going to go start a new live event, and that will be up quickly, and we'll finish it from there. And there's 337 viewers. I need 337 viewers in the next one, or we can't do it. You guys, everybody's got to go. Everybody's going to come play along. All of you got to come along here and play. We're going to have fun, guys. We're having fun. Remember I said before, the twists, it's going to be a plot pretzel. We have it. We're barely even finished making the dough. We're going to be going all around here. So stay tight. Smoke those pipes and cigars. I know you have you've got a collection of fine Habana cigars, and they're expensive, but they're not doing you any good not smoking them. So light one up. Whether you have whether it's a cherry flavored or grape flavored tobacco in your pipe, or maybe it's vanilla, or maybe it's maybe you have a nice diaper scented candle. Light it up. Get the lighting. And I have 2 lighters, one for each scent. Yeah. All right. This is Gothic King Cobra signing off, and I will see you motherfuckers in a minute.